Mic's on.
Microphone is live.
Okay.
All right. Ready.
Hold on. Keep going. You're good.
Welcome back to 13 Cards Subject to Change. Jesse's just going to check on a couple of things over there.
All right. Hopefully everyone can hear me.
Hopefully that's working out. Leroy, are you getting something out of that?
Yeah, I hear him.
I hear a slight echo. Is that going to be a problem?
I don't know why. Is there another echo?
I think it's on the camera, so just, I guess, go around and mute the cameras, and we'll kind of get going.
Oh, everything is.
For those listening on the podcast, we're still doing the live, so they're going to probably take a couple runs before they're absolutely perfect. I do have the sound thing, so I'll be putting those up this week.
Jesse's going to head over and just take a look at what Leroy's settings look like.
Yeah, I'll go do that here.
Yep. Meanwhile, welcome to the show, everybody. We're glad that you could join us. We had an interesting week in wrestling. A lot has happened in such a short period of time that we're going to...
King of the Ring on the way.
I mean, hey, it's a good time of the year. Lots of strange news to get to.
There was one that was open, and I muted that one, so we're just...
All right, so we are good. Jesse's just going to...
Yeah, Jesse,
you're...
Just double checking.
What do you got?
Possible eclipse on my camera, but we're good. Anyway, Jesse's barely awake, but we're going to keep him awake for the show, at least.
With my mountainous butt.
All right, well, you know. Some people like it.
It's like seeing the light come over the hill and you realize
we were better off view-wise. There were more views when the cat was on camera, though. You know?
That is true. We got a lot of views.
But anyway, speaking of last week's show, ladies and gentlemen, we're actually going to start the show off with a topic that I've been told a couple of times they wish we would have gone a little more into depth with, but we're going to start the show with the way we ended the show. And let me say this, Jesse, I'm going to quote Uncle Shay Shay here, and I'm going to go all the way back to COVID. Is what I'm going to do. Okay. I'm going to go all the way back to COVID, and ladies and gentlemen, if everyone remembers...
It always feels like
the first year or the second year?
This would be the first year.
Okay.
Everyone sort of remembers that there was a period where we had this little thing called the bubble.
Wait a minute. Was there second year COVID that I didn't know about?
There could be. We don't know. Did you sleep?
It feels like it was like 7 years long.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, so ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to take you back to the bubble, we called it. It was down there in Disney. Okay. And, Jesse, there was a little thing going on called the Battle of Los Angeles. Not the tournament, but it was this little invented thing between LeBron James and the Lakers. Right. I'm still hearing the echo, by the way. LeBron James and the Lakers and the L.A. Clippers and Kawhi Leonard. And after the Clippers...
Put your ear thing to the side so you can hear it.
Yeah.
Put one of the things to the side so you can hear
it. Take the headphone.
There you go.
There you go. Are you hearing it now? Are you hearing it now, Mr. Krabs?
No, I don't hear
it now, Mr. Krabs?
You don't hear it.
I don't hear it.
It's there.
We can both hear it.
We can hear it.
Well, half my head sucks.
So take the whole thing off then.
Then take the if half your head sucks, then don't take the thing off the one that's there. How are you not hearing that? Hold on.
It could be just the room.
This just in. I think Leroy's old.
I love how the side thing just got to Leroy's old. All right, so we'll deal with that.
He's a great engineer, though. People, we love him.
He built the park.
Everything is muted.
Okay, perfect.
Leroy, you got to remember, this ain't the 1950s. It's like the first speaker. You actually really got to listen.
Yeah.
Well, no, 19. No, it was earlier than that, man.
You were the guy who took the picture of the first camera.
That's right.
But anyway, so Jesse.
And I saw the first wheel. It was round. It was kind of squarish, and I'm like, dude, you guys are dumb.
There you go. But anyway, so Jesse. Uncle Shay Shay, Shannon Sharp, decided to go on a little soliloquy about the fact that Kawhi Leonard and the Clippers got eliminated in the bubble after a 3-1 loss.
Correct.
And there was a little bit of a statement in there that I think really needs to be said, and it was about Kawhi. Sometimes a man can find his destiny on the very road he took to avoid it.
Correct.
And that means we're going to talk about the way we ended last week's show. Jesse, do you think Will Ospreay knows what he said, and do you think that, and you talked about he is already regretting it, but what exactly does that mean, that he's regretting a very poor decision? At least, again, folks, this is not WWE versus AEW, but it's not looking like he seems to be enjoying his choice.
There was a great song in 1976, I believe, and it was called "Take the Money and Run." He just hasn't run yet, as Bray Wyatt would say. So here's the thing. This week, of course, they kind of did a thing where he, quote-unquote, took the bullet for Swerve, to protect Swerve, and from the Young Bucks. If that is on my resume as a wrestler, it's a bad storyline. I needed protection from the Young Bucks. Ooh. There's no doubt he probably regrets it. Now, congratulations to him. He got engaged. Him and forget her name off the top of my brain, former wrestler, but they got engaged. So congratulations to them. I think the realization, by the way, because of course, to be fair, we are just
Alex Windsor.
Thank you. We are just fans who do commentary about the thing we love and things of that nature. We also do work in the business for a couple of wrestling companies, but it's still one of those things that we're basically fans. We're just commentating for what we see. We're not there. But I would believe at this juncture there is some clarity that the fact that it is Hangman Page and not him has finally sunk in.
Jesse, we need to just sit here for a second, and we need to. That echo is there. I don't know what anyone says. But it's just
no idea.
But it's just what I think needs to be said, Jesse, is what I again, we were sort of making fun of it last week, but we need to dive into it. Guys, the guy said something. Then he turned around, looked at the camera. Then he looked at Tony Schiavone like, where do I go next? Because he realized what he had just done. He understood what he had screwed up and why it was not a good idea. Jesse, he looked at the camera, whether anyone wants to fantasy book or whatever, and he said the words, the reason why AEW sucks right now. Forget what was said before it. Forget what was said after it. That's what people are sitting there on the internet and saying, bro, you done said that. And the problem that no one will address, and they've been real quiet about it over there, Jesse, he knows what he said.
Oh, yeah.
And this is one of those things that, Jesse, that road that you take, sometimes you find your destiny.
Right.
And the problem with the road that he took, again, not mad that he went to AEW versus WWE, none of that stuff. That's not what this is about. But clearly, like you said, the kinks in the armor and the back and forth waffling
right.
of all of a sudden, here's this guy who sat there and said, on our worst day, our roster is taking them. That echo is getting worse. I don't care what you tell me. But
it's everything's offset for the one thing that we use. As long as you don't have the volume, no volume on your phone, no volume on your phone,
no,
then we're good. It has to be the room with that, whatever. It has to be coming around.
Yeah, okay, yeah, we have a slight difference there. But anyway, Jesse.
That's the only difference.
But anyway, Jesse, here's the thing. Will has to understand you are in an environment where a lot of stuff is kind of off the cuff and they allow freedom. Right. But Jesse, when you allow freedom, all of a sudden someone goes out there and
something can go wrong.
And the adrenaline starts to get to you, and you don't think about what you were saying in the back, what was written down, what was here, what was there. And Tony said many times, we have a rough idea of where we're going, but I usually let them call it out there. Well, guess what? You're fucking one of your biggest signings, he called you out. He called you out, and he said, I just said something I shouldn't have said, and I can't take it back because, as Jesse always says, the joys of live entertainment.
Right.
So, anyway, Jesse, you were sort of going into it, and again, we were mostly funny about it, but now we're going to kind of analytically look at it.
Right.
Jesse, the Clippers experiment has been a huge disaster on the court, despite what Steve Ballmer has made in terms of the stadium and all the other kind of stuff. And we all know the business of AEW technically is fine because, let's be honest, there's more money than God there. But, Jesse, in terms of the actual sports, we have a problem.
Right.
And Will Ospreay is not willing to acknowledge the problem, whether it's out of jealousy, it's out of his own, ego or whatever. But you were saying, like last week, you got two pieces of memorabilia. You're not rooting for Will Ospreay to be down. But, Jesse, the rah-rah bullshit, and you said the man's real name, didn't help Seth Rollins.
Never helped Seth Rollins. At all. At all. And now Will's in a position. He's like I said, he's literally in the Seth Rollins position of 2018 and 2019. You want to be the company guy in all of this, and everyone's asking you, but where is it getting you?
And see, the problem that I have is, Jesse, remember what I said was a sort of weird story beat that is now sort of leaking into our topic is, Jesse, they go out there and they talk about, well, I'm the best in the world. No, I'm the best in the world.
Right.
If that's really the mentality, Jesse, we all know you can't be the best anywhere unless you're, the champion.
Right.
And Will said two things. Number one, our champion is currently shit. Which, don't worry, Will, everyone agrees with that.
No one disagrees with that.
But number two, Jesse, he called out the product, and I think that the silence backstage is twofold. There's one camp who's like, we need to ignore this ever happened.
Right.
And there's a camp that I regret to inform you guys, they actually don't get what he said.
Right.
They actually don't understand that he said what they've been trying to keep under wraps this whole time. Folks, you have to understand something. This guy, more and more each week, seems to go the Okada route. Okada just said from day one, I don't give a fuck. At least Okada's being honest.
Right.
Like, I mean, when Jim says he's the most useless guy on the roster, he's not wrong,
Right.
but Okada's making himself the most useless guy on the roster
Right.
because he's saying, why would I wrestle, but like you said, during the last match, he sort of had a bit of an upturn for Speedball.
And of course, he's definitely like into anything with Kenny.
Well, yeah, except, folks, I've been saying this for the last week. If you're expecting the first four they've already had, you're going to be highly disappointed by this particular one. They're like 10 years older than they were.
Kenny has aged quickly the last year and a half.
Well, and Okada's still almost 10 years older, so, we're sitting here not realizing that, Jesse, they're not going to be able to do that kind of match again.
It's going to be very difficult to try to pull that kind of magic. But knowing those two, they'll have a great match.
I think they have...
Yeah, they should.
Well, they have soulmate wrestling chemistry.
Right.
But I don't know if they're going to live up to the hype of their original trilogy that they had back in Japan. But anyway, no, it's just we have seen so many times issues and people.
Yes, I'm saying hi to people.
There you go. But see, Jesse, what people don't want to talk about is this is the guy who has done nothing but rah-rah.
Right.
And now we get to the biggest show of the year, and finally the whispers are starting to get to him. And I guarantee you that they are. The whispers of, well, okay, we didn't give Will the belt right away, but now this is like the third or fourth time he's been a hand on the mat away from being given at least an opportunity for this belt.
Right.
And what's crazy to me is that, Jesse, for as long as he's been there, Will Ospreay has been the Clippers. He's been close, but he's never been even. He's never even gotten a shot.
It's the old, stuck in the upper mid card. And
at least Jey Uso got the world title. I mean, that's kind of what you have to say.
Listen,
we'll talk about that a little later, but
people are bitching about that one.
I mean, listen, clearly there's a plan to try to do the Goldberg match. We'll get into that later.
Yeah.
I will say this with Will currently, and I think there has to be some sort of realization at this point. You ain't the dude just because he paid you all that money. You ain't Roman Reigns.
No.
You see, and by the way, of course, we heard the report now that TKO put out, it would be ridiculous if we try to ask Roman Reigns to take a cut. Because he'd just say, fuck you. I'm sorry.
We do movies now.
When I'm there, how much money do you make? Okay, stop talking to me.
My contract pays for itself. Thank you.
Well, I'd like to get a friend out, or a good friend. Commander Key was there.
Oh, shout out to you.
Just saying hi to that, yeah.
Thank you for
We'll see who else comes
this
in.
live. And we'll be doing Q&As at the end of the show here. But yeah, there's got to be a sense of absolute regret for Will Ospreay. Now, it does not mean I want him to leave. It does not mean it just means you got to do better than what Seth was with Vince.
I think it means that, Jesse, you're one of the guys who has pull. So use it. There's nothing wrong with that. Just don't, Jesse, in wrestling, there's pretty much one rule. Don't be Hogan.
I'm not, and I don't think any contract, unfortunately, for any, it's not even just wrestlers, any professional athlete is ironclad. It does not exist.
No, God, no.
Not as much anymore.
No.
But use the power you got to make it better. Because you clearly, the money he's paying you, you clearly have his ear.
You don't think that the Minnesota Timberwolves, who are still in reports to get Kevin Durant, you don't think Ant Edwards didn't go to them and say, "You're not trading Jaden McDaniels"?
Well, right.
The hell you're trading that guy.
The rumor is, the Wolves might try to get rid of some ones, and Julius Randle will go get Kevin Durant, which probably isn't a bad thing, but they should probably try to keep the bench if they can.
Right.
But
right.
Anyway,
definitely, they got to.
I will say this: it's going to be very interesting because Will still has like 2 years on that contract.
2 or 3 years. Yeah.
I mean, it didn't work for fucking MJF, so I don't know, but these guys have to find a way to step outside of not only just themselves, to really look at the company and go, okay, we need to come together and try to figure out a way to really get this thing back on. Because there's going to be ups and downs.
Yeah.
But a path where it's like, okay, we are going up again.
Well, Jesse, the problem that everyone doesn't really want to acknowledge is everyone acknowledged one thing when he signed. Will is the guy that can keep the upward trajectory going.
Okay.
But the
possible.
Yeah, but the problem that we're having now, and nobody wants to acknowledge this, but I say it all the time. In wrestling, just like when you do a false finish, okay, there's now fire. You got to get the fuck out of the house,
right.
Okay? Jesse, there's a perfect time in wrestling for everything. It doesn't always get hit,
right.
But you have to take advantage of it.
Right.
There is a ticking clock
right.
on even that audience
right.
believing in Will Ospreay. Look, sickos, let me be very clear. You guys will always believe in the talent, and I respect that about you because you always have love for talent.
Sure.
And that's what wrestling fandom should be. But the problem is, even you guys give up on somebody when the time is not stricken when it should. A la Adam Cole, baby.
Adam Warlock.
None of you people give a shit about Adam Cole anymore, and you won't come out and admit it. But Jesse, Will Ospreay, as I said, we could go down the list. Let's go back to it. He literally lost to Swerve, and he wasn't even there a year.
yeah.
And we're sitting here and we're saying, well, Swerve has been able to sort of do something with that, but what did Will really do after it? Will Ospreay is slowly becoming, and Will, listen very carefully, you're slowly becoming the guy who everyone knows they can have a match with, but are they going to be elevated by you?
Like his son. Like I said, at some point, because two guys from Rancho Cucamonga have been in his ear for too long, Tony Khan's ear for too long.
Yeah.
At this juncture. There has to be a real conversation amongst the higher talent about, all right, we got to sit down with the boss and be like, hey, there has to be some sort of a future. Because right now, it's clearly disjointed. It's funny because he's like 40 years Vince McMahon's junior, but like it's not that different from what was going on in the 20 teens in WWE. It's just not.
Leroy, it's really interesting, but like you and I were watching during that period of time really heavily. Jesse obviously says he was in and out, which is fine, but
yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
But Leroy, you and I have also said there was days when you kind of had to be a wrestling fan and say to yourself, well, this is the only game in town. And Jesse, we obviously knew that it wasn't, but it was what it was. But I'm sitting here and I'm saying to myself, you know what? Watching the show, following the matches, the storylines, it felt too routine Leroy?
Yeah, there were some points that it did feel like that.
Right, but
so, yeah.
but see, Jesse, that's where the people coming in now, the sickos who go on their Facebook pages and all this other stuff. And yeah, some of you got bigger Facebook pages than we do. Congratulations on your success, and I'm glad to be a part of it. But Jesse, there comes a point in time where you're just sitting there and you're manufacturing the hype. When at the end of the day, I think this past week, instead of people talking about this 4-hour bonanza, we were talking about Jey Uso. Like, I mean, for better or for worse for Jey Uso, they stole the headline.
Yeah.
And
yeah, they're talking about that at the end of the week. They weren't talking about either. They were talking about Ron Killings on Friday.
I really just, I can't, and by the way, we will talk about our opinion of people being super excited about the combined numbers of the 4 hours. I'm rolling my eyes.
You finally hit 1 million, but it took 2 different shows, 4 hours, and a combined
soon
slot.
the camera will be much closer. You guys will actually be able to feel my eyes roll in my head. It's one of those things where you're still fighting for something. 5 years in, and you're still forced to fight for something. Instead of, we should be at a point 5 years in, it's just like, yeah, WWE might have got this deal and all that, but man, AEW is still just as good.
So let me ask the question that no one's ever really wanted to ask. Did they peak at 1.4 million that first night? Is that the best they can give us?
There, even like I said, even being non-WWE, is there still a really bright future potentially for AEW? Because, like I said, I'm not completely down on the product. Now we're going to get to this week's Dynamite, which was, listen, I think I would have rather watched a dog wet shit for 2 hours, but whatever. Is there a future? Absolutely, absolutely. But they just, I don't know if somebody needs to get, I don't know if Papa needs to get Tony Khan's ear and be like, hey, you need somebody on the side to help you steer the ship.
Well, I
know this is your baby, but like, damn.
Somebody needs to get in there and do that, because I think they have the wrestling there. They have the talent of wrestlers there.
So now let me ask the question to both of you.
Before you ask that question, and I will actually say this about Tony Khan. He probably can be the guy to steer the ship, but use a Jerry Lynn to your advantage.
Jerry Lynn's been there the whole
Like
time.
Like he's such a wealth of knowledge.
So let me ask the question now, and Leroy, we'll start with you. At what point are we just sitting here and realizing that whether it's an old timer who keeps talking, or it's the younger guys who have never seen this kind of money, at what point are we all going to sit back and realize there's a lot of people, a lot more than are willing to say it? Because let's be honest, why would you hurt your pocketbook? People are just there because he's paying them more.
It feels like it.
I think a lot right now are there just because to fill their pocketbooks, and that's it. And it's sad a lot of them are like there because there's a lot of talent.
And I'm not mad at people for doing that, because you got to fill your own checkbook, bro. But like, Jesse,
but when people
there's so many people who would kill for that slot and probably do it for half because they'd still be making more money than they ever saw in the wrestling business.
But
for God's sakes, there's people making more per year than like 90% of some wrestling companies in this country.
I gotta say this, man. And as good as it is that AEW exists for the pay thing, because unfortunately TKO has already proven on the UFC side that they will nudge talent, unfortunately. And now we're starting to worry about it with WWE.
Well, but there were rumors that when Khabib retired, Jesse, it wasn't just because of his, wanting to go and do it. They weren't going to pay him enough.
Right.
And he was the biggest star they had.
Which is crazy.
Well, I think with this pay-in, it's like some of them, they got paid and they showed up and they wrestled. Now the stories aren't that good, and they're kind of less, some are, not all, but some are less willing to put in as much effort because, we're still going to get paid even if we put in the half amount of effort we did before, which is bad.
Well,
and that will.
Well, but remember,
that's a downfall for AEW.
One thing Jim Cornette has said that he's always been right about was the downfall of the wrestling business was guaranteed contracts. Like, it's good for the talent,
yeah.
but it causes the issue that you're talking about.
Yeah, and that's an issue anywhere.
Well, yeah,
I
exactly.
mean, if any, like...
Well, the NBA, it's like, oh, you're making $45 million this year. Yeah, that's if you're hurt or not, and that's kind of like, well, damn.
And same with, like, NFL players get the same way. I mean, they can get that way.
Well, no. NFL contracts are not fully guaranteed.
No, not all of them are, unless it's worded that way. But I think before it was bad, but now since, when the rookies come in, they actually have classes for them to say, hey, this is what you need to do.
Sure.
It's like, do we need that for wrestlers now?
I don't.
Maybe.
I don't think it's as simple as teach them how to spend their money. I think that's a completely separate topic.
Well, not spend their money is what they should do. We need Jerry Lynn to step up and say, hey, this is what we need to do.
No, I think what is needing to be understood is life after wrestling is something like the problem with becoming a pro athlete is it enforces, and you have two of them sort of now, and you have one that just started and one that will be there soon. Yes, Claire will be a teenager like that. You already know this. But it's like, Leroy...
Shut up. I don't want to talk about that.
Fair enough. But it's like, Leroy, you were
Thank God for Kathy.
But I mean, Leroy, you were there 700,000 years ago. Wow, boy, that was the biggest jump I think I've ever given you. But anyway,
I love it.
Leroy, there is a sense of endless summer. It'll never end. It's like when you send the kids off to camp, even though it's a 48-hour camp, they're there for 2 hours doing some activity. They don't have a sense of time. They don't have a sense of, there's only 2 days of this, and then it's back to reality. But that's my biggest problem with where we're at, is I think because so many people struggled on hot dogs and handshakes to get their name out there, that now that there's real money coming through, they're not realizing your bump card only gets so many punches.
Oh, yeah.
And the problem that I see with growth is that WWE superstars are told you have to help the growth of the business somewhat because you will make money long after you're done.
Yeah.
But the problem with AEW is all the guaranteed contracts, all the guaranteed money, whether you're on the show or not, you think the paycheck is going to be there when you're in your 50s. You think the paycheck is going to, I don't think people realize, as much of a dick as he was, Kevin Nash made sure that there was money long after he was done with his in-ring career.
Oh, yeah.
Kevin Nash changed the money game, but I'm saying, you always, I know you do this because I've seen you do it, you always explain to your kids, this too shall pass, both good and bad in their life. And that's making them understand that there is no such thing as an endless summer. School starts back up, there's work to be done, there's all this stuff, and I feel like in AEW, and it goes back to Will, he got all this money, he got all this opportunity, but now when you're sitting there understanding that there's no growth, okay, so what is the future when you're gone from AEW? Because Jade's not making anything off of AEW's success right now. She's not. Ethan Page, no. Ricky Singh. It's a weird dynamic. When they go to WWE, it's all of a sudden, okay, I am now on this legacy. And what I did, it's funny. Remember, when Vince would bring somebody in, let's take Fergal, Finn Balor, for instance.
Oh, yeah.
Ignoring what he did in Japan other than an occasional mention, he kind of had to start from the bottom. NXT, all that kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But where Vince wanted to kill the notion that there is no other company but me, WWE is much more welcoming, but AEW doesn't give us a reason to look back on their history. I don't think WWE ignores the AEW side of someone's career solely because they're in competition. I think they ignore it because it doesn't help the talent.
Well, no, you look at the last few that came in.
Yeah.
You know, Jade Cargill, she was gone for how long, and then boom, and they gave her the Goldberg run. That's it. Ricky Saints, how long was he off TV?
Oh, God,
Ethan Page.
2.5 years.
How-
He wasn't on TV.
Like Ethan Page, was he used very much before he got in AEW? No, their careers weren't really that much at all.
Well, okay, so Jesse, now I'll bring it back to you, and I'll spark note it. The legacy after wrestling really isn't in an AEW locker room as much as it is a WWE locker room.
Sure.
Because I think what Roman Reigns understands, despite making 15 times what most of the AEW roster is making, Will Ospreay, you ain't making Roman Reigns money, kiddo. But no, it's just Jesse. Roman talks about it all the time off ring. He knows the legacy of his family still has to keep going.
Right.
But he also knows that he has to leave the business in a better place because not only is it going to pay for him long after he's left wrestling,
Right.
but he has to leave it better for his literal family
Right.
and all that stuff.
It's and that's the conversation that I was talking about earlier. That especially if MJF was going to stay, Will Ospreay, who to be honest, actually I kind of want these guys to stay in AEW. But it's a conversation they have to have amongst each other. It's a conversation that they have to have with their boss. We are really into this. There is something beautiful besides the fact that you can pay us whatever. That can really come out of this. And it could be a really beautiful thing. But it's like, Tony, I need you to start thinking legacy. I need you to start.
But he doesn't have that. He doesn't have that knowledge like Vince McMahon got from his father and being around it.
I gotta be honest.
You only have a certain amount of time.
Sure, but I'll say this.
Edge lost.
Yeah.
He had his back in his prime. He had to leave.
Well, sure, but here's the thing.
But then he came back, you know.
Here's the thing. I don't even give a shit that he doesn't have the wrestling history of the McMahons. To me, that's not a bad thing. You want to know how I know that's not a bad thing? Because Billy Corgan was a fan now. NWA is on a great spot now. But Billy Corgan was a fan.
They actually
bought the company in 2015.
They got a TV contract.
Well, now they do. But
yeah.
But and then for a couple years there, you would watch NWA. You could bring your grandpa in, or maybe you used to watch it as a kid, and it was exciting to sit. You watch on YouTube as a family. And Billy Corgan is basically a fan, but basically Billy kept listening to older wrestlers from the past and guys who maybe were kind of current in the game, like Nick Aldis. Now, unfortunately, clearly that relationship didn't work out. Otherwise, Nick would still be there. But
he said in an interview with us, and I quote, "I don't work out for free."
Right.
But I don't think Tony is doing that with the people that he has.
Well, no,
he's not.
Clearly, the Bucks are the most potent in his ear. But if you're Will Ospreay, if you're MJF, hell, if you're Bobby Lashley, you got to pull that away some.
So are they just cashing the check? Is that it?
I don't. Well, at this point, MJF is yes.
The Young Bucks, I say yes.
They've been cashing a check since PWG. The worst thing Jesse heard all week was that the Bucks apparently were like, "Hey, if Super Dragon sells it, we'll buy it." I'm like, Jesse's like, "Oh, great, kill PWG."
That's all they would do. That is just like at that point, like everybody go buy the archives and just be done with it. Because now it's dead. And by the way, all well wishes to Super Dragon and his family. Yeah, by the way, because I'm not ever going to talk about the guy under the mask or like his name and stuff. But one of the absolute, when he wanted to actually spend time with fans, giving human beings on the planet, so I wish him nothing but the best. And thank you for fucking all the memories, man. Like, holy shit! Like I still remember going to like traveling out there to North Sacramento and watching those shows in that fucking little Jewish center. But it was like the most fucking fun a 22-year-old kid traveling with his buddies could have, besides the Young Bucks. It was absolutely amazing. I just, somebody has to have that conversation with Tony Khan to get him to understand. Because, by the way, I will give him this. He's finally grown up, son. He's much better in the
Well, he's
past.
answering
Yes,
questions
he is.
properly.
He's answering questions properly. He's much better on social media than, like, for those who don't, he went viral last week because a fan wanted to try to, like, gatekeep. And he was just like, no. We invite everyone here, man. He's like, it does not matter if he doesn't like the wrestlers you might like here. If your friend likes some of the other wrestlers, please invite them to come watch it with you.
And it also seems like he's not going after WWE and stuff like that as much.
The biggest problem with that, and I don't even want to blame him, but he really unfortunately allowed himself to get too caught up in that.
Oh yeah.
Is we talked about it, and we have to do the video react to it now that it's been almost 7 years actually, because that was like a year before the first Dynamite.
Yeah.
Is like you kind of allow two of the most popular former WWE guys to get you too hyped for no reason, and that was with Vince McMahon in charge, and you should have tried to be smart and been like, I'm not gonna get caught up in that. I have a vision for pro wrestling. I see droves of people moving away from WWE. Let's see if we can grip those people into our new company and keep them there.
And now we move to the bigger problem than even Will. Jesse, when I asked the question, did they peak at 1.4? The biggest problem.
Yes.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah.
I sure as hell hope not.
Right. I hope that's not
right. Yeah.
only
But no,
peak,
Jesse.
yeah.
Jesse, the biggest thing that the sickos never, ever answer a direct quote to is this. When you go somewhere.
Turn it towards you more.
Yeah.
There you go.
When you go somewhere.
Editing you last week was a bitch.
I feel that. But no. When you go somewhere.
We got to get his camera.
Is the
hype a little bit?
Is the hype there the second time?
No, we don't have the length of the cord.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Is the hype there the second time that you go to a place? And what we've learned is that, Jesse, WWE moved WrestleMania back to Vegas.
Right.
Now, while that does kind of suck for New Orleans, Vegas is clearly offering to put as much money back in TKO's pockets as they got this year, if not more.
Let's be clear. Because New Orleans did get robbed.
Yeah.
They did. I mean, that would have been a great place.
For those who don't know, we are a Minnesota-based podcast. We are proud of that.
Mm-hmm.
Boys, don't lie. You don't give a fuck. You're happy they got robbed just like Minnesota did. It's okay. No, guys, you're on camera. You can be like, no, but seriously, fuck New Orleans. Welcome to our world.
Oh, I've been saying that since you cheated to win a Super Bowl.
That's true.
But, seriously, I'll say it, even though he's one of the nicest Christian men in the world. Fuck Drew Brees. Fuck him. Goddamn cheating son of a bitch. Didn't know about it. Go fuck yourself.
Unfortunately, we only got bent over and fucked first, and then they got fucked.
But just, Jesse, All In
Yeah.
was in Wembley Stadium. They sold 70,000 tickets.
Yeah.
They sold half that the second time.
Yeah.
And now they're not even doing that show there.
They're doing it in Texas, and they're only going to have about, you want to say maybe, I'll give a kind number of 3/8.
Did we have a number on how many?
Yeah, I wish I would have
people are
said
holding?
that day too.
All I'm saying is, sickos, you have to acknowledge something. From the ticket sales to the TV numbers to the pay-per-views, when you go back to a place, and Arthur Ashe was the prime example. Jesse, WWE still sells out Madison Square Garden.
Yeah, every time they go.
But they don't really have to try because it's their backyard.
Right.
Yeah.
But the problem with the reason why Grand Slam is now, I forget where it is, but now it's a mixture with CMLL, is because, Jesse, they had 10,000 people the first time. Then they were almost 10% the audience the second time in Arthur Ashe.
It was like 7,500 or something.
Right, but Jesse, all of a sudden, we're not even talking about the legacy of Grand Slam at Arthur Ashe, because they're not doing it at Arthur Ashe anymore. And the problem is they hide behind that bullshit excuse of, well, we want to take it on the road and give it to more people. No, it's because you can't fill an arena in fucking Arthur Ashe anymore.
That's because New York was like, yeah, fuck this.
What? And they have to learn from WWE, because Money in the Bank, where they had Money in the Bank, it was there before it for a different event, and they grew this to this next event they did.
To give WWE credit, though, and not Triple H, Money in the Bank has become a really important event too for WWE.
Yeah, but I can't remember. It was their very first episode of Raw on Netflix where they had this, where they were there for Save for Money in the Bank. They came back and they did good. They go over to Europe and do this Paris, whatever these shows. You're doing arenas that are not like 50, 67. You're packing about
bringing up Paris
17.
Here, it's crazy to me because I would think about AEW and I think they could do well in Paris.
Well,
But then I start to think of myself like, but you can't do well in the U.S. You're a U.S.-based company. That's not good.
If they go there one time,
here's my question though.
They will do the first time they will do good, but the second time they will do bad.
Question answer.
Holy shit!
But WWE doesn't go to the same place again.
Put him out. He's on fire.
I know. I'm sorry. But they'll
call Kathy, because you know what? Leroy might actually cook for once.
No, I got Alice cooking tonight for dinner.
Then you gave it away.
But
no, we're trying to set you up.
I'd rather sit back and eat than have her cook, because I'll be cooking
right now.
I know, but I'd rather eat than cook.
Man, he was on fire for a minute. But by the way, Leroy absolutely killed that.
Yeah.
Because he's absolutely right.
But it's like WWE doesn't go.
You're right, Jesse.
Doesn't go right back to one.
Jesse,
They take a while.
You're right.
And then they show up.
They do well in Paris, but let's go.
The first show.
But then let's go a year later. Would they do that again in Paris?
If the way that they go about doing shows, probably not. It would be less.
Okay, but now a question: is that because of oversaturation of the market, or is that because no one is interested in the show the second time? Because the first time you go somewhere, they don't know you.
Right.
Doesn't matter what you put on TV. They're just happy to.
Even if they like follow you.
The new toy in front of the kid. Ooh.
Exactly.
Right.
But Jesse, once you've played with the toy, like Leroy said, now you're gonna get another toy in that line of toys.
Right.
But what is the difference? What is the upgrade? Why do I want to play with this new toy more than the old toy? But the problem is that, Jesse, the first time they show up, it's a happening.
Right.
Everyone's excited because you know what? It's it's a day of the show. It's all this other stuff. Why does why does Women of Nations get bigger every year? Because, Jesse, the show that happened the year before in that high school gym has forced people to want to watch MAW, follow MAW, not the way Matt does, but my God, the man has a fucking life we all wish we could have.
I'm still trying to figure that shit out.
Well, you'll never know it. But
you won't tell us.
But anyway.
Damn you, Matthew.
But anyway, no, Jesse. But
it's a mob boss, we know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway,
love you, Matt.
love you, brother. Love you and the kids and the wife.
Absolutely.
But anyway, no. But Jesse,
twins.
they follow MAW the full year. And the reason why the arena gets bigger is, you know as well as I do from the music business, you always will get new people who are like, I got nothing to do on this night. Let's go to this, event. But Jesse, if 500 people go there because it's a happening, 300 might be the ones you have hooked from the previous year.
Right.
So that's 800 people,
right,
including the people that are already your built-in audience. The problem with AEW is live show attendance, that's your core audience. They're going to go no matter what.
Right.
You're not going to get new people, and the people who watch your television are like, Jesse, part of the reason why you go to a live show is to see culminations or continuations of the big stars that you've been following throughout all these platforms. But when you realize that I am not gonna see anything that I wouldn't just be able to see on TV,
Right.
why would you spend the money to go out when you could just spend the
that's-
money sitting at home?
This is an insanely fair point. I mean, I think you've nailed it on the head. And on top, like, you know, I keep using Minnesota as a market for them because they've actually shrunk in Minnesota.
Yeah.
You know, they like to do what it's not Bash at the Lake, but they like to do that here in Minnesota, and they actually had to lessen. They had to go to a lesser auditorium. And
So-
this is one of the best wrestling states in the
you know,
country.
the bad part is we haven't been there yet with our pillows there, so we can sleep watching the Young Bucks. Then they might get more people.
I mean, and by the way,
Jesse would have viewership being thrown out as a being thrown out live on the hard cam.
And
they might hit 1 million. Like, that dude's a dick, but that was funny.
Yeah.
and then Zachary was sitting there going, I didn't know him.
Just be outside because you know them. They'd be like, that got us 1 million. We gotta go see if he's still outside sleeping. I would. Anyway,
Yeah.
I would live stream that damn stuff.
I'm like, the fact that you lost 6,000 people going to your show live in Minnesota is crazy.
Well, Jesse, remember, Allison and I in October are going to go see Sleep Token.
Right.
But he's playing the fucking Target Center this time.
Right.
The last time it was the Myth.
Right.
Jesse, for anyone that doesn't know, those are two very different sized arenas.
It's Target Center is about 16,000. The Myth is about 2,000. Like, it's a totally different world.
But Jesse, look at, and by the way, folks, go find the videos of what their setup looks like at like Rock Am Ring and Download. By the way, y'all were mad about Download. They sold it out. There was a full crowd there for when they played Download. Funny how that works. But anyway.
Anyone who thought Sleep Token couldn't fill Download apparently does not listen to metal.
Yeah.
Download is a metal festival.
Yeah.
There we go.
But anyway, but Jesse, he's.
Like I said, the time when I remember at first I was at my peak of why does Baby Metal exist, and then I saw them headline Download, and I went, okay.
That is why.
Let me get on fucking board before the metal community shuns me.
I've taken my shots over the last year. I've had to apologize to those lovely ladies in Baby Metal. A little bit of a gatekeeper left.
You know, and then once I started listening to music, I'm like, fuck, it is cute. I am into it.
And a banger.
Right.
But anyway, Jesse. But no, it's like, folks, from 2000 crammed in a room to the same songs on a 16,000 person arena.
That's mega growth.
That's called growth.
Yep.
To go from 14,000 your very first show, 1.4 million on television, to now your live events, 2,200 people.
Right.
And yeah, they're going to smaller places, but Jesse, the point should be, you put out a record, you play the Myth. Okay, cool. Shinedown's played the Myth before. Shinedown's a pretty expensive ticket these days. Look at those boys.
They're in arenas now. Sure.
Yeah.
Arenas at all
Well,
times.
as we talked about it before, is like they jumped into the bigger places, which they should not have. They should have gradually.
Okay, so
up.
now I want to.
Shout out to Wrestling from 1313. Thank you for popping into the
Oh,
chat.
hey, thank you,
We
man.
appreciate you.
Appreciate you.
Like to have you on the show at some point.
Let's talk.
But no, Jesse. Now let's talk about. Now let's go and talk about this idea that. But they filled the arena,
Right.
and they had the arenas for a little while.
Right.
But now isn't that they killed it? And I'm trying to be serious.
They're doing it back asswards.
It's a weird thing because it's just like if they were more like I keep saying, and this is why storytelling is so important, no matter how you do it in pro wrestling. If it was more consistent, there would still be enough fans that they don't have to shrink their crowd size by 6,000 plus. Unfortunately, too, for 5+ years, they allowed a lot of gatekeeping from their own fans, which was one of the worst things you could have ever allowed for Tony Khan to have allowed. You should have never allowed the gatekeeping. That hurt. Like, remember, when they started, celebrities and big-time names were very interested in AEW. And I told people, I'm like, that's because WWE at this juncture, you just don't trust what Vince McMahon is going to do creatively. So every time you watch is an absolute crapshoot. And instead of trying to keep those fans around, when they didn't know about more like lore and in-depth shit, you basically pushed a lot of that fandom away. And it hasn't come back. It's never come back. Like I gotta tell you, I never even look at the TV ratings as much anymore. People tell me about it, but I don't look at it as much.
Well, you mostly get them from me on the show.
Well, sure, but I've told people, I'm like, just looking at the crowd sizes of the places that they go live to now, I'm like, you allow the fan base to push fans away, which is insane for a business to allow.
Which, by the way, the sickos will argue we didn't do that. I'm like, O'Shea Jackson highly publicly said, I would rather go to a WWE show than an AEW show because no one ridicules me. See, this is the problem I have with AEW fans. They're so desperate for this to work, Jesse.
Right.
They ignore what happened.
Let's push that one to the side.
Kat Dennings.
So, I'm about to say SummerSlam in Nashville. Kat Dennings is talking about professional wrestling. She's one of the biggest actresses in the world at the time. That did some Marvel stuff. Of course, her show had just ended, 2 Broke Girls or something like that. But she's one of the biggest things.
She was one of the sort of like bigger side characters in WandaVision.
Yeah, and then it just
at the time. Yeah.
And just one of the and she's been in the Thor movies as well.
Yeah, she was in the first.
Yeah, she's been in the first couple of Thor movies, and like you get her talking about pro wrestling, and the quote unquote sickos bombarded her so badly for an hour she's never talked wrestling again. I'm like, what a shame. Because everyone...
She's awesome.
Because all she said was, man, this...
Who really wants wrestling to be healthy? The WWE fans or the sickos? It's a real question. Who actually wants wrestling to be healthy? The truth is, we don't want AEW to die. We just acknowledge the issues. You guys...
By the way, we will acknowledge the WWE.
Yeah, but Jesse...
The WWE fans want it to be good. The sickos...
Quick question.
They want AEW. They want WWE to die.
They want WWE out of business, which is terrible for the business.
Which is stupid for the business. You should never want that. I mean, unless you're Jim Cornette. But
Jim doesn't even want that. He just wants Vince Russo dead.
I was going to say, he doesn't
have to kiss on his grave.
He only wants one thing.
He only wants one guy dead.
He just wants a sole human being to be a dead person.
But it's...
Or at least retired from fucking commentary.
There are the weird...
He only retired when he died.
There are the weird WWE fans that think AEW should die, which I'm like, is stupid. Because WWE is at its best when it has direct competition.
Mm-hmm.
No doubt about it.
Mm-hmm.
And so... Because they're not... Like I told you, New Japan never broke into the American market, so unfortunately they're not going to get it from New Japan, which sucks. But it's one of those things.
But it could happen. They could try again.
It's not gonna happen.
You don't think so?
You're trying to.
That's unfortunate.
Well, because you're also trying to ingratiate a different culture into America, and I don't know if you've watched the news.
Well, we gotta wait 3 years.
Yeah, like we got some things to deal with here.
In case you're wondering, there are now I think 36 more countries about to be added to the no-fly list, and I'm like, that. I didn't know we had that many enemies.
And now we're all stuck here. Can't believe that sucks.
You're not enemies. I just don't like them. You're an idiot.
But yeah, so it's one of those things where like, if you love pro wrestling, like I said, the biggest thing that made me worry about AEW, and I hate that I ended up turning out to be right, was that press conference. We talked about it on this podcast. One of the first time you guys had me on. Because I was just like, there was just a lot of, basically anti-WWE. We're going to be much better because we're not going to do all the shit that they do. And I'm like, here's the thing. If you were going to do that, right, especially for a guy like Chris Jericho who should have understood this more than anyone, do what Cody did. You don't talk about WWE. You talk about Vince. Because we all knew who Numa Maruna was in pro wrestling at that point. It was Vince.
And you want to know who else acknowledged that? The talent.
It was Vince. Like, don't say WWE because there was other talent, especially those in WWE, who were like, fuck, yeah, no, please exist. Make him fucking, like, listen to all of us.
Well, but Jesse...
It's like instead of saying that, they could say, yeah, you watch this for so many years. We're new. We're going to be different.
Well, now let's look at that for a
and
second.
that's it.
Well,
that's the way to do it.
Okay, let's look at that for a second.
Yeah.
Right now, everyone wants to talk about, well, Triple H is putting all these shows on the same days because he views them as competition. Guys, oddly enough, the only person that viewed you as competition was Vince McMahon because he signed everyone to 5-year deals the second you came out. But then he saw the product and he immediately was like, well, that was a bad idea, pal. Because the problem is that, once again, the thing you won't acknowledge, you and your core fan base kills your momentum faster than any goddamn thing. Because remember, as Jesse will tell you, and as Leroy knows from the golden days of DX, they will just troll you.
Well, here was the other thing about the whole thing's also
and hopefully
going
see
like,
some movies.
It's also going like,
I mean,
hey,
in the olden days,
it's just not competition.
They're parents now.
Was the fact at first he felt like there could be competition because he knew the dad of the dude who was running that thing had pockets much deeper than that.
Yeah.
He knew there was finally money.
Right, he knew like, oh shit, if this kid has the right minds around him, he can make a fucking good run for my money.
But then after a year, those 5-year deals stopped.
Because he went, the kid doesn't know what he's doing.
No.
And so like
whether or not we as a hardcore audience started to dislike Vince's booking, Jesse will always acknowledge Vince was going to have an audience regardless of what he did.
Well, yeah.
Like I said, the audience got to I always said 1.1 strong, always.
Yeah.
It fluctuated, but I'm like, with WWE, it was always going to start at 1.1 strong. Which 40 years or 50 years of history allows you that.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's just, it's also one of those things where after a year, that old man went, you can't even beat NXT.
And like everybody complains about the premium live events on Saturdays now for WWE, and they don't like it. I love it.
Well, that argument ended really quickly because we said on our show, wait, you mean we can sleep in on a fucking Sunday?
No, it's not that.
And then, and then by the way, then Triple H got the book from Vince, got the pen, and was like, hey, what if we ended at 9:30? We're like, holy shit!
Because, like I told people, there was still a problem before Triple H took over of, I would watch a show, let's talk about it. I would watch a show like Hell in a Cell and be like, why the fuck is this still going? It's 4 hours. The show has been boring as fuck. Why is this still happening?
But I like that too.
Thankfully, my wife was there to help entertain you so you didn't fall asleep.
Oh, so boring.
But it's like, it's on a Sunday, and are my kids able to watch it? Especially during the winter? No, because they got to go to bed.
But guess what? They can watch on a Saturday.
On Saturday, we can stay up and enjoy watching the show together, which they want us to do.
Nick Khan stepping in and
so then I can go spend more money for buying my kid more WWE merch.
Right, and what I loved about Nick Khan stepping in and going, Vince, you're called World Wrestling Entertainment. Let's go around the world. I'm not going to lie. I loved watching the one in France and being like, oh, yeah, fuck, I can actually, like, go enjoy my day and go to bed tonight.
Oh, yeah.
Now, hold on. But then came the idea of WWE went in the more sports-based thing. You know what, folks? Right now, when you watch a premium college football matchup, even the primetime matchup, if they, USC was so bad for so many years that people forgot that they used to be in prime time, and those games would be over here in the Midwest by like 9 o'clock because it was like it's so much earlier over there.
Right.
But what people don't get is that now, Jesse, when they show, let's say, Michigan versus someone in prime time, the game's over by 10. But there's still a nightlife to be had in those cities.
Right.
So another thing that people don't realize, and this is part of why London is trying to get in there for a WrestleMania, is, Jesse, WWE Raw, WWE SmackDown, a premium live event. Holy shit, the show's over at 9:30. The bars and restaurants around the thing better get ready for a late night rush.
And the best part about it, if it's live, of course, here in the States, you're like, oh, fuck, dude, it's 5 o'clock. Let's go see a movie. Like you can actually go, dude, let's go see a movie. Like, we got time today. So, yeah,
How does this relate back to AEW? Guys,
let's talk about 70,000 because they love to talk about.
Well,
70,000.
no, Jesse. But Jesse, think about it.
No, and here's what I want to
We
get at.
think that 4 hours is now long for a non-big show.
These motherfuckers went like 9.5 hours, bro.
Because they go for fucking 17 matches.
I was like ready to kill myself.
17. You could split that in 2 frickin' days. Not one day that starts at 3 in the afternoon.
New Japan has rightfully taken heat for making Wrestle Kingdom one night again for like 6 hours, because going to 2 nights was one of the best things they did, because they can do it for 5 hours, and you love it. Plus, it's on at like 5 in the fucking morning. So, like, you know,
it's
by the time you're done watching, the sun's been out for a few hours.
Well, you get done watching, it's 10 a.m. here. You're like, well, it's Sunday at 10 a.m. I'm going back to bed. So, it's not a big deal.
Oh, lucky you. It's Sunday 10. I'm like, church.
Yeah, well, you're in church,
Until it's time to go for church.
Until the NFL decides they have a 5 a.m. game.
We asleep. I can watch the Jets lose later.
I still will go to church. I was there today, of course.
Leroy?
Even though it's a Vikings, I still go to church.
We had my therapy last week. At some point, you're going to have your coming to Jesus moment of, guess what? Your church will start at 3 a.m. if the NFL moves to 8 a.m. Sorry, it will.
Wish they won't.
No, there's too many older people there.
Well, and then the cities will never. The cities that the teams play will never fucking allow that.
And I agree with you on that.
Because they're going to be like, no, you are not starting an AM game here.
But we didn't say this at the beginning, but I can say it now. I want to wish all the dads out there a happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day.
Well, for God's sakes, we were getting there, but you had to ruin it. We had a special thing planned. Thanks for giving it away.
You can do a special thing and talk about me.
Well, not now. It doesn't matter. You gave it away.
No, I didn't.
Who are you, Tony Khan? And that's how we're back. So, Jesse. so Jesse, you were
I'm not that bad.
So, Jesse, you were talking about 70,000.
So 70,000, and they were all excited. And listen, most of the show was good. Some of it was absolutely fucking boring. And then you went back, and I said, I warned, because I'm like, man, the show wasn't as great as people think it was. And I get this is subjective, but even London is going to go, okay, I'm going to actually wait for the card next year.
Before you go, I always tell the story. I've seen Wicked on stage.
Sure.
The performance. We were told before the show that the woman playing the witch, who's the main character, would not be performing that evening. So her understudy was there. And no one gave a shit because this is Broadway, motherfuckers. That means the best singers in the world are the backups.
That's right.
You want to know something? No one noticed that the show went down a peg because she was still belting shit out like it was her fucking life. Because it is.
Yes.
But Jesse, the problem is that when you finally get people in and then you don't deliver the show in other forms of entertainment, when, let's be honest, the backups ain't the backups that they are on Broadway.
Right.
Sebastian Bach, formerly of Skid Row,
you better sing, bitch.
He said, it's fucking $500 a ticket. You better fucking sing your ass off.
You better sing, bitch.
No.
But Jesse, even a guy with commercial success like he had, a professional singer, he said, I wasn't the 15th best singer in the chorus.
Right.
He was only there for the star power.
Right.
And they knew it.
Right.
But, like, that's the thing with this is that it's different in sports. Your backups are never as good as the starters. So when you give your starters and you give them a shit show, why would they come back?
And so I pre-warned. I remember, I'm like, if the card coming out into the second London show is not as good, it's going to suffer. What happened?
They had half the amount of people.
30,000 less than the first time.
But
and I said, okay. And then all of a sudden they announced the Texas show. And I said, guys, if they are announcing a card and it is not great, no one is going to fucking Texas.
If somebody is advertised in a WWE event and that event is like 6 to 8 months ahead of time, unless there is a major reason why they can't be there, they're going to fucking be there.
One thing I can tell you about WrestleMania going back to Vegas, I can tell you 3 names that are going to be there. You ready?
Oh, yeah.
Cody Rhodes.
Yeah, of course.
CM Punk.
Yeah.
Roman Reigns. They're going to be there.
It's just gonna happen.
Unless they are injured or one of them murders a motherfucker, they're going to be there.
But you got to look at this too. Is you can do that.
I like The Rock.
Well, who cares about The Rock? WWE can come to a show, a place, and do pay-per-views, but you have the same kind of core wrestlers that are going to be there at every pay-per-view, and they change it up a little bit here and there. But like right now for the John Cena tour, a premium live event, there's a good chance that Cena is going to be on the card somewhere.
Yeah.
But when they do that, Seth Rollins is going to be on there. But they bring the same people, but it's AEW does the same thing.
Well,
but WWE has, I think, better stories, and the wrestlers
and that's the thing.
Can do it. So you don't care if you see John Cena multiple pay-per-views in a row.
Well, but remember, Drake Maverick recently, the story, Jesse, they gave refunds because of one guy.
There was the Undertaker that wasn't going to be there, and they said, unfortunately, if you don't want to come,
now let's take his name away for 5 seconds. Jesse, is there anyone in AEW? Anyone? And I know we've already asked the question, but this relates to the topic. And Leroy, I'll ask you because you know a lot of names down there. Jesse, who have they built properly enough that if somebody isn't there, they will refund tickets? And they will accept that they're going to take a loss on this day because of that one person. And no, Mercedes, before you jump in, because you always do when your name is heard, it ain't you, honey. No one's watching the show because of you.
She's in her hometown and nobody gave a shit.
I mean, right now for that show in Texas.
Well, Leroy, Jesse will tell you all the time. Boston's fickle to begin with.
They ate clam chowder. Have you ever seen clam chowder?
You're biased from being from New York.
It looks like fucking puke.
You're biased from being from there.
And to be honest, so does the city. So, here's the thing.
Well, I'm not a big fan of clam chowder myself.
I don't know if we'll ever do a live event in Boston. We probably will. I just won't be there.
No, we will. You'll just wear a Aaron Judge jersey.
Yes.
Yes, he probably will.
With a sticker that in front that says, "Who's your daddy now?" So here's the thing. I don't know who the big draw. To be like I said, I don't know who the big draw is outside of Okada and Omega for this show.
Now, I will say this. I think that if Okada and Omega somehow can't make All In, I would think that's a big enough name in their universe to give out refunds.
Yeah.
But take that match away. Let's say that match in stone, Leroy's God alone makes sure these two men make the match. There's nothing
Bless you, my son.
There you go. There's nothing else on that card right now that makes me go, Tony, we got to give this money back.
John Moxley isn't a star anymore. I mean, I don't know how to tell people
There
that.
isn't.
He's your world champion. He's not really a star anymore.
What's the day of the week for the 12th? Is that a Sunday?
Theirs always is on a Sunday.
Theirs is always on Sunday.
They don't change.
Okay, I might take the 13th off because I'll be honest with you. If you hear nothing, then you'll all know what happened. But if John wins and Darby Allin comes out with a bat, like I said, Jesse and I may have to just do a really quick live on that Monday.
I can't.
Okay.
My brain
and you know what? If that happens, I will be mad. But I'll be happy that they're not going to take forever to have Darby, like him trying to climb that mountain.
Yeah, no, it'll happen at the next show, which luckily they did push like at least 6 weeks forward now. But
anyway, Jesse, before we get to this Dynamite you call dog shit, let's get to another
4 hours of Dynamite.
Thank God, I can't believe I'm saying this. Thank God for SummerSlam in Jersey and on August.
No, Leroy. This past Dynamite wasn't the 4-hour extravaganza. But let's talk about that. Jesse, they went 4 hours and they got $1.035 million total between the two shows. On average.
So $500,000 for each show?
No! Actually, Leroy, AEW Dynamite
did
$655,000. Collision,
that's respectable.
which immediately followed the show, which is the same company with the same basic wrestlers,
Did
with
they
the
record
same
it?
fan base.
Is it recorded afterwards?
380,000.
It was live.
Oh, they went live?
I believe it was live. Wasn't it all live?
Let me double check.
Yes, it's
But yeah, Jesse,
wow.
they lost half the audience. Nobody stayed up for the last 2 hours.
I don't blame him. I got something better to do, like sleep.
Okay.
But they're not just losing. Hold on. But they're not just losing to sleep, because remember we used to talk about the old overrun when Marvel movies followed. The Marvel ratings for that fucking 10 to midnight, they went up higher than Dynamite. So sleep is not the problem here.
Well, there's like me. Sometimes I turn the TV on.
Yeah, but you're older than dirt. You are literally older than the soil.
That's not fair.
No, it is
But
fair.
the math checks out.
I did help Freddie figure
I
out what
don't
was going
know.
in.
Dirt might have been here before Leroy.
No. I was
I would
helping.
think
I
Dirt
was.
here.
Did you not watch The Big Bang Theory?
I was helping.
The opening
with that.
sequence has that big ball of light. That was the reflection off of Leroy's fucking glasses.
So you're trying to say glass was actually invented when he was born?
No,
I just did that. That's all.
exactly.
and then the bang and the explosion. That was after I ate a burrito.
So here's the thing. Wow. Here's the thing.
You're welcome.
Getting into the show, you would think.
Oh shit! No, he was right, Leroy. So the first
Did they
2
record
hours. No, the first 2 hours.
Yes.
Was Fyter Fest.
Oh yeah. Woohoo!
That was live. Collision immediately following was in the same building.
Yeah.
And was live.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure because somebody posted all 4 hours of it like 2 days later. That's how I watched it.
Yeah.
Because I usually work Wednesday nights.
Collision got moved because of the Stanley Cup playoffs.
Oh yeah, because that's a lot more exciting.
To be fair, hockey is more exciting.
It is this year.
Especially when Canada is like one of its own representatives in its own sport. It's actually really exciting.
If they don't beat the
And they're
Panthers, it'll be another year where Canada has to be like, we lost the Stanley Cup to the fucking Florida.
They'd be like, what happened? We lost to Florida.
You'll see them start jumping into the fire.
They like hockey. But anyway, Jesse.
You know, we got to put out the fire.
But anyway, Jesse, half the audience. Jesse.
He said, fuck this.
Jesse, this is what bothers me, though. This is what bothers me. They were all boasting about, I can't wait for 4 hours. And then y'all left.
After 2 hours, they're like, yeah, we're done with this shit.
Because niggas be lying. Like we don't talk about people lying enough, but niggas be lying. And some of the biggest liars, sickos. I can't wait for 4 hours of AEW. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
And then half of you left.
Half of you fucking went to bed.
Let me tell you, there's only so many times you can watch car crashes. Now, Jesse would say something like there's so many times you can watch the same porn, but I would like to be a little more peachy.
To be
about
fair,
it.
this car crash is necrophilia. Because clearly, if you're going to watch 4 hours of it, you clearly enjoy watching something dead being fucked.
We need to get Leroy a button that he can just turn off Jesse's camera and then immediately turn it back on while we do these things. But anyway, moving on. On a serious note, before we get to this week's Dynamite,
I got to figure out. I might be able to do that.
Yeah, well, look. But no, Jesse.
What are we going to cut off for? Everything?
That. But anyway, no. But Jesse, that's the thing. I can't say the word. You can, but they're lying.
Oh no, niggas be lying.
Because Jesse, Jesse, they were all over social media, all the wrestling pages. We get 4 hours tonight. None of you watched.
Bro, okay. Listen,
None of you watched.
I watch a lot of wrestling.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest with the sickos. It's hard. There's some SmackDowns now that they're gonna keep the 3 hours and probably up to the end of the year plus a little longer. Some of these SmackDowns are like, oh, God, okay, we got to get to this 3rd hour. And even I can admit that about WWE.
Yeah.
Stop lying to me in that, like, oh, man, it's about to be 4 hours of the most fire-ass wrestling, and then half of you go to bed.
Or when you did something else.
Or it's like some guy boasting, oh, yeah, lady, I'm going to do it.
Well, since,
and then 45 minutes
the
later.
audience lives, like, in basements, they probably were told to shut the fuck up and go to bed. But
Jesse, just like, guy boasting to the lady, hey, I'm going to go for hours, 45 minutes, half an hour, he's done. And then she says what you said all the time.
wrestling purists are the most boring fucking fans on the planet. And sickos, this is why no one likes you at conventions. It's the you speak of wrestling as it's like Gunther. I want you guys to understand Gunther is a character, right? The real man behind it. What is his real name again?
Who?
Walter / Gunther.
Oh yeah.
I forget his real name. He goes home to a family. He loves. They have a child together.
His name is Walter.
Oh, his real name is Walter. Walter something. I can't remember.
Walter Hahn.
Is it Hahn? Okay. It's a character though. it's a character. No one's that fucking pure about the sport anymore. It's a commentary, right? Because if he was a real person.
Nobody was there to congratulate you after you won the world title. Are you fucking kidding me?
Clearly, he's fucking around.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Like, but you guys, because I go to conventions, especially because usually AEW wrestlers will end up at a lot of conventions and stuff.
Yeah.
And by the way, good for them because it's another way of revenue for them.
And also, by the way, guys, we worked with an active AEW talent. And we didn't rip him for fucking the entire time he was there about the company that he works in.
No.
We were highly professional and we were cool with him because he was giving us his time.
Right.
So let me be very clear. We will treat them with the utmost respect for what they do. But as I say all the goddamn time, and I have to keep repeating it, I will not keep my opinion quiet about what I don't like.
And here's the thing about the Sickos. So there's a thing called Twin Cities Con here in Minnesota that happens in St. Paul.
Yeah.
And every year they usually have AEW wrestlers. I went last year. For those who don't know, I will try to put the photos up on the Facebook and our future website. Be on the lookout. It is on the way.
For those who don't know, because she still does work there, the Virtuoso was there.
Because I got a photo with her, talked to her, Danhausen, and a ton of them. Listen, I have nothing but love and respect for the wrestlers, and I always tell them that because I'm like, you literally put your livelihood on the line for entertainment, and that's like, you have to step back and just look at the person like, seriously, outside of everything, I hope you're okay. Thank you for doing this.
Yeah.
And I'm always happy to give you money for your form of entertainment because I love it. And I wish I could do it, but I can't. And then one thing I always talk to wrestlers about is just like, just like, what is the difference? Because especially Diana, what is the better difference? The freedom to be able to go to these cons, or kind of it's a little looser, but the structure of the WWE sponsored event, or the structure of a New Japan sponsored event.
Right. Yeah.
Because New Japan does not allow just something to happen that they don't sponsor.
You know what's funny? AEW constantly talks about all the New Japan connections, but I don't think people realize New Japan tends to run themselves a lot more like WWE than they do AEW.
I'm about to say we've worked with MAW, some other companies, and I can tell you, and without spoiling things, New Japan is very fucking strict. Like they're willing because their wrestlers might be in your company.
Yeah. So
they will allow your booking.
Yes.
But boy, they're very fucking strict. That wrestler better come back home. not again. Because also to be fair to New Japan, they kind of take care of a lot of things on their end. But and WWE will too. But I do hear. I don't mind being able to just come to these events because then they get to keep all the money themselves.
Yeah.
Right? AEW doesn't take it from them, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And with WWE, if you are allowed to go to something probably like Twin Cities Con, WWE is going to take their cut or whatever, which is fine.
Yeah.
Which is fine. And the other thing, because why I bring this up is AEW sickos. I have watched you now for 3 years, as I've gone to a lot of cons, interact with wrestlers, and the fact that they don't hate you guys is a miracle for you. Because I do. Because every time I watch them, and it's almost like a sense of it. Not always.
No.
Some of them is just pure love, and that's fine.
Now, before we go on here,
Yeah.
just 'cause we'll get moving on. Why does this all relate to the topic we announced earlier about Will? Because, folks, it's very certain and it's very clear. Jesse, the cracks have been there, but for the first time, a top guy let it slip on television.
Yeah. And whether or not he was trying to talk, maybe his storyline, he was talking about the Bucks. If people want to say that, fine, I'll take that defense. But either way, the truth kind of came out. Because there's no way you work somewhere and you don't understand the truth of the situation.
Especially when you're a guy who's quote unquote privy to all information.
Correct.
Because, Jesse, the one thing we know is sports imitates life, life imitates sports. The Minnesota Timberwolves went to Anthony Edwards and say, hey, if we can get KD because you loved playing with him at the Olympics, but we might have to get rid of Jaden McDaniels. If the Wolves have told, people like Adam Schefter or like, people at that level
Sure.
in the NBA, Shams, whatever
Yeah.
if they've told him Jaden McDaniels is not on the table, it's because Anthony Edwards told him that Jaden McDaniels ain't on the goddamn
Right.
table. Because we got him signed for 5 years. He ain't going nowhere.
Right.
But in life, you know as well as I do, it doesn't matter the business. A business talks to its top people, its upper echelon.
Correct.
They do that. So Will is privy to a lot of this stuff.
Right.
So you know as well as I do, Will Ospreay, he knows everything.
Right.
And even though he can sit there and say, it's what's best for me and my family because I get to be home all this time, this and that, like you said, it was best for Colby Lopez for a while.
Until it wasn't.
Until all of a sudden, wait a second, why is Seth Rollins going so long without this title? Why is he going so long without being in our homes every day?
And I still remember when CM Punk came back to WWE and they first interacted, and the first thing I said in my head was, oh man, CM Punk has so much material just about Seth for 3 years straight of over defending WWE events. And he's going to be able to destroy him on it, and he absolutely fucking did.
Yeah.
Because it's just, what you cannot do is, there's, like I tell people, I like my job, but there's no way I can ever over defend my job to someone who wants to come work there. I can tell you, it's, you come work in this setting, it's going to be good. It's going to be positive. It's a bunch of really positive people.
Yeah.
It's a good leadership team, including middle management.
Yeah.
So you're not in a bad spot. But if you ask me about the overall company, I'm going to tell you,
well, Jesse,
without getting into specifics.
Yeah, just being honest.
Well, Jesse, what's funny to me is you watch right now, because he got himself back in the news for saying something really dumb, and that was Dak Prescott. I got to win a ring for my own sanity.
I didn't actually think it was dumb.
Well, no, but Jesse, it was dumb based on the level of context of the business he works for, the Cowboys. Meanwhile, J.J. McCarthy is talking about, well, yeah, I don't want to be the starting quarterback, even though clearly he was the starting quarterback. I want to earn it. He's saying all the right things, but remember, Minnesota was still always going to hand him the keys. The problem with Dak is that I think Dak actually knows if Jerry could upgrade at that position, he'd do it.
Oh, in a heartbeat.
He'd do it.
He knows he would do it.
Yeah.
So true.
So Dak is
He is
starting
that crazy
to
old
slip.
bastard.
Dak is starting to let things come out that, let's be honest, you don't want someone to necessarily say to everyone.
But where I'll give Dak a little bit of a, not even really a pass, but more positivity than I can give Will, is just understanding the Cowboys situation and the AEW situation. At least the Cowboys, because it's football and it's week to week and it's all strategy and all that kind of shit, is that anything could fucking happen any given football year. Some injuries can happen in their own division. All of a sudden they're the 1 seed. So things can happen before the playoffs. Next thing you know, they're in the fucking NFC Championship game. A kick goes their way. Now they're in the Super Bowl.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Anything can fucking happen.
In wrestling, it's a different story.
In wrestling, because it is predetermined, yes, but it's when things don't go your way, and you're one of the highest paid guys there, there's some questions to be asked.
Yep.
Like, why are you never considered a top guy here? Even though everyone knows you probably make, well, the third most money. Clearly the guy who makes the most is Okada here. Hey, get your money, Okada. I ain't hating on that guy.
So anyway.
Yeah, but like I said, you get, and we're going to get into the two shows quickly. I don't know how you're building to the show in Texas, knowing you ain't.
This was the 4-hour summer block, by the way, we were running.
And
yes, I know. I did see that.
There's so much wrestling. I forgot that after I watched this, I spent like 3 hours watching Dragon's Gate tapes. So like a lot happened.
Yeah, because I've been catching up on Dragon's Gate. I gotta catch up on New Japan soon.
Well, not only that, but Jesse, didn't you and I forget there was actually SmackDown on because we were talking about Stardom?
Yeah.
We were talking about Stardom the other week. I was like, wait, Jesse, is it today Friday?
And I was like, oh shit, SmackDown's on.
This happens to us far too often. Anyway,
a lot of wrestling every week.
So anyway, well, we're gonna go to the Dynamite portion of this.
Correct.
So they kicked things off with the winners of the Owen Hart Cup tournament. Surprisingly, this year there was no Martha Hart, probably for the best. Probably for the best of all of us that she was not involved at all this year. But yeah, no. Then all of a sudden, they just showed up and they just did their thing.
I mean, we're the winners. We're gonna go to the championship.
Yep. Anyway, well, no. So they're now copying WWE and they're doing the walk-ins of certain people. This was literally just them walking into the arena, which of course WWE does every day because that's what they do in pro sports.
Right.
Is like Angel Reese showed up and then she proceeds to shit on herself. But anyway, hey, congratulations! She got a win today in her first ever triple double because they won the game. Congrats.
They just got really bad to right. Hey. To the WNBA media, you can't just show her like 4 highlights and would not know. Like most of us did watch the game.
You want to know what's getting more views? The dude sitting in their studio waiting for her to miss her first shot because they placed bets on it. She made her first shot. They were like, no. They lost like 20.
Lost some money. They shouldn't bet like that, but yeah.
Leroy, they went 6 days of making bank. What are you talking about? They made bank for 6 days.
I understand. It's not always a good idea.
They made bank because she banked the shot.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on here. Will Ospreay and Swerve Strickland faced off, and ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, I'm sick and damn tired of this. They do it too often. Boy, they take a good idea, lights out, this, and they
run into the fucking ground.
They went to a time limit draw because Jesse, how dare we put 2 of our biggest stars in the ring together and they not look like warriors going to a draw? Ties are like kissing your sister, according to Jared from Hell's Kitchen. Yeah. All I'm saying is people don't like draws. That's why soccer doesn't make it big. That's why soccer doesn't make it big in America.
Because no one in America likes a tie.
No, that's why they do overtimes.
Even in the NFL, when you do get the rare tie, it's like being teased and you just didn't come. You're like,
At least hockey. Well,
I'm gonna go shit and go to bed.
I mean, at least hockey is helping themselves now that they're on ESPN. When people realize, well, at least when you get to the playoffs and you go to overtime, now it's still 5-on-5.
Right.
In the regular season, it's 3-on-3. We gotta get out of here.
Right.
There's more ice. We gotta go to bed. But Jesse, how are these guys not gonna have a good match? Because in ring, they're 2 of the best.
And it doesn't really matter who lost.
Well, that was the other Leroy once again with the absolute. Dude, you are cooking today with the Jesse. Who gave a shit who won or lost this match?
Really, I mean.
Neither guy's going for the belt.
No.
So it doesn't matter. It really didn't matter who lost.
They gave away a pay-per-view match in a cold 4 hours because it was Fyter Fest. And yes, I get it. This is the charity event for military and all that shit. But guys, at some point, WWE looked at Tribute to the Troops and said, "Well, Jesse, it at least has to match our TV."
Right.
Yeah.
You can't just take a week off.
We will go do a specialized show And here's the thing. I gave Vince credit for this when it wasn't being like recorded during like story time, and they would put it on a random Saturday after it was recorded. I'm like, at least they were like, they recorded it randomly, and they were like, well, just go give the troops a cool show.
Yeah.
And so when you watched it on either like fucking Hulu or whatever, it was just like, okay, I'll watch this. There's some wrestling going on. Saturday morning. All right, cool.
Yeah.
This, you're like, yeah, I mean, listen, it was a fucking great match. But then you think about it, and you're like, wait a minute, though. The other guy's going for the title. They both went to a draw, so now neither one of them has moved forward.
And they went to a draw, Leroy, solely so they could be overly exhausted and tired and get beat up by the two smallest people in the fucking world.
Oh, really?
Well, the Young Bucks came out.
Oh, like, I don't give a shit about
And
that.
so did the Death Riders. And it ended with Will Ospreay in the arms of Swerve Strickland after a beating from the Young Bucks on kicks that they missed by a fucking mile.
Didn't even look good on TV, huh?
They showed it in an instant replay, and I'm like, why?
Jim Cornette
Because they thought it would be cool.
can never be as honest about the Young Bucks as I can.
No, actually, I've actually been putting your reviews side to side. I'm like,
It's pretty,
holy shit, Jim may actually not realize there's someone who hates these two more than he does.
Jim seems like a fan compared to me.
and he really doesn't like him.
Every time I see these two motherfuckers,
Yeah.
I literally go, I hate myself as a wrestling fan. Because I know people who, if there's a random casual who wants to get into AEW and they see these motherfuckers, they turn the channel.
Yeah. Well, they do lose viewers when they're on.
They're not believable ever. It's wink, wink, nudge, nudge. They're not believable. They never hit their moves. It's the same. It's been the same.
They're the safest workers in the business because they never actually connect with anything.
Let's not even talk about John Cena and what Roman said about missionary every night. Hogan couldn't drop this many leg drops and be this boring.
Oh, yeah.
They made the super kick boring, Zach. The super kick is boring when they do it. This is the only move they know.
Also, Leroy, I
Yes.
also would like to point out to you, the casual who wasn't watching, I don't necessarily know how great of a visual it is to tie a black man in the corner with handcuffs.
You know what I was doing? I was connecting.
They hung that same one 6 months ago.
Well, I guess you're right. At this point, handcuffing him to the ring
Seems liar.
seems tame.
And a suggestion.
By the way, the guy that hung him is currently going to go for the world title. Just saying.
And a suggestion to those two guys that were actually on TV there. I was connected with my Lord and Savior, and I think they should too.
Yeah.
So I had a reason why I wasn't watching.
But anyway, Jesse, what bothers me is, okay, hear me out for like 2 seconds. Didn't we just have an interaction not that long ago in the back of Swerve and Hangman sort of coming to Jesus moment with each other?
Correct.
Okay, so why the fuck am I supposed to look at the heroics of Will Ospreay, who's barely had any interaction with Swerve since their match last, year, jumping in the middle of it? Like, all this does is make Will, and again, sometimes Jim is right when he talks about what the audience sees. It makes him look like an idiot. Why would you jump in front of this? You haven't had any interaction that this man is going to be like there for you on television. It doesn't make any sense.
What Jim talks about with bad babyface shit, this was it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it used to happen in Vince's WWE where a babyface would do something like, what the fuck are you doing?
The babyface is supposed to be the smart one.
Like, why are you getting involved in this? And then you are, like, why wouldn't you, like, grab a chair and swing him off and then, maybe you look at the other guy and you're like, hey, respect their assholes. Okay, cool.
Yeah, but taking a shot for him?
You took the ass whooping for him. That's crazy. And neither one of you is getting a title match. Could be me.
Well, the problem is that they're building them like they're going to have a title match, and then they're not going to have a title match.
It's,
What the fuck is this shit? Also, by the way, they might be building, and some fan put this out there, what if they're building to the Bucks versus Will and Swerve? It was supposed to be the Bucks and Kenny!
Dude, I don't care about that.
Exactly. You built up for the longest time Okada and the Bucks making fun of Kenny. So Kenny's going to come back. And then, by the way, Jesse, who was Kenny talking to? Oh, that's right, the Bucks. Who is he randomly wrestling after no interaction since he's been back? Okada.
Who now joined the family. So here's the thing.
Yeah. That was next. The Don Callis family got bigger.
So
clusterfuck.
Somebody help me understand how I've gotten to a point. I was there. I was there in 2004 and 5 during the Reign of Terror.
Yes.
The Bucks are worse. We're there now. We're there now. They're worse because this has been going on for almost 2 years.
But you want to know what's worse? They do it being on television like half the amount of time.
Right.
At least Triple H was working the grind when he did it.
He was actually always there.
And like this time, I think your dad would let you throw the bottle.
Oh, he don't know these two motherfuckers. He wouldn't care.
He would like throw it.
Jesse's dad.
Here's another one.
Jesse's dad, first of all, couldn't see these guys because they're too short, and second of all, he wouldn't know who the hell they were.
And to be fair, he probably should have been worried about me as a teenager. Triple H was a big motherfucker back then.
I think he was still doing the
steroids. He was trying to
steroids.
save my life. Like he could probably snap your shit up, son. And I'm not saving you. It's a hard thing to explain to your mother why let a wrestler kill you. But here's the thing.
I don't know. Knowing your mom, she might have just been like, "Nah, his dumb ass earned that."
Yeah, like he earned his ass whooping Triple H. You give it to him.
Well,
I just don't understand this tag match. Because you're absolutely right. Weren't you guys supposed to be in war with Swerve and Kenny? But of course, we're going to All In, so we have to do Kenny and Okada because it's Southern Cal's promotion. So, like, and that's the only reason he really signed Okada. So, like, I'm at the end of the match and I'm like, for fucking why? And the moment you do that is the moment a fan is not interested in a match. So it doesn't matter if they make this a tag match or All In. No one cares.
No, because Jesse, again, the Bucks. Jesse, there are times when a wrestler is involved in like 4 different storylines, and people want to see where that wrestler is going to go.
Correct.
No one gives a shit that these guys are involved in like 4 different storylines.
There we go. Hey, I want to shout out here. We got Wrestling Connection joining us. How you doing?
We appreciate you, WCC.
Yeah.
What's going on?
But no, it's just what bothers me about this situation is, Jesse, they think that they're at a level where they can interject themselves at all, and they'll add to the story.
Before I finish conversating with you, for everyone in Pop 7, let us know your thoughts on what you think about some of the stuff going into All In.
Also,
we'll read it at the end of the show.
Also, yes, please leave those comments in the comments, in the comment section, because Leroy will be writing it down for the end of the show, because Jesse and I cannot see chat right now.
That's right.
So, yes, someday we'll all be looking at chat at the same time. But for right now, folks, if you have any thoughts or concerns or questions, please put them in the comment section.
Yeah, put them up.
And Leroy will have them for you on a separate show, which will be after we finish recording, what will be on Spotify. This will be YouTube exclusive.
Correct.
So anyway, moving on. And then Jesse, and then Okada, who wasn't involved in the beatdown, he's now working. You know, I gotta give the Callis family something.
This dude. He recruits more Japanese people than Angelina Jolie has adopted children from overseas. Like it's actually incredible at this point.
But what's funny to me is that Jesse, Don Callis is literally trying to be portrayed as the manager who's always scouting talent, but the problem is what happens to his other talent that he scouts. It's like
they almost get lost by the wayside.
Jesse, Drew Rosenhaus has like 50 to 60 guys, yet all of them seem to be rich.
That guy's still a very good agent.
He seems to know what the hell he's doing.
Correct.
Because all those guys seem to be very rich.
Correct.
Very rich. One of them calls, he tells his kids, Dad's got to go. I'm about to make your money, sorry.
Right. It's just because I'm watching this whole scene, and it was good, but I'm also just like, so he finally said fuck the Young Bucks, I think here, right? And then like
that's what it seemed like.
But they still announced him as a member of the Elite.
Right.
It's odd, man.
This is like that weird place where, actually, you know, it's funny. I just had a little thought process here. Do you remember when Kenny was reaching his peak, and he was still the leader of Bullet Club, and he was always the leader of Bullet Club until randomly on a show that wasn't Budokan, he would go out with the Young Bucks and they'd be the Elite and not Bullet Club, but they'd still be wearing Bullet Club t-shirts?
Yeah.
That's what this feels like.
Yeah.
It's like Kenny got too big for the Elite.
Right.
So, and now he was Bullet Club. And now it seems like Okada, they want him to still be announced as part of the Elite, even though clearly Okada is way bigger than they are.
Well, yeah. It's so fucking weird. But I'm not gonna lie. After what happened in the first match, I was actually down with this. This was fun. Like I said, I keep telling people, listen, you're not gonna get. I do not believe we're gonna get any of those classes we got in the Wrestle Kingdoms, the Budokans. And any of the tournaments.
They're too old for that.
They're too old for that.
Yeah, but no.
Well, I think we are still headed for a really good match.
Yeah.
I will give some credit to unifying these two titles.
That's a beautiful belt. I'll give it that. It's a nice belt.
I will give Tony Khan this.
He makes nice belts.
He's only missed on 2.
Yeah. Now, Jesse, I have a question for you. Why did Don Callis have to bury 8 months of booking up for like 7 guys in like one promo? Why is Okada in this match and not Kyle Fletcher? Has Okada had a better 6 months in the ring than Kyle Fletcher? Well, Kyle hasn't won the big matches there, Don, so I don't really know why we're bringing up the last 6 months of Kyle.
We're talking about Timu Randy Orton, who looks up at the lights?
Yeah.
Okay.
Why is Okada in this match and not Takeshita? Yeah, that's a really good question. Why is Takeshita not a bigger star? Once again, we're just burying everybody down the fucking line here.
By the way, Takeshita's his own guy. That's what's crazy about that line.
So maybe I should be addressing this to you, Okada. Why is Kyle and Takeshita? Why is it not Kyle and Takeshita? Why is it you? Because that makes me sick. Don, once again, I know that everyone's going to say, hey, he's sticking up for his guys. No, what you were doing was calling out the poor booking of those 2 guys for the last 6 months.
Right.
Like, Jesse, what is the one thing in wrestling? If you've had a rough 6 months, bury that deep and never mention it to anyone.
It's actually,
try to sell yourself.
It's actually wild, the fact that, like...
He just buried his own guys.
He buried his own fucking squad. Like, I don't even think it was, like, an intentional burial, but it was just... Because it was just a way of recruiting, like, I guess, proving he found a way to recruit Okada out of the Elite. And this should feel like a really big deal because that group is filled with a ton of potential megastars.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But, like, it was almost just like, yeah, but Okada's the A guy. And it's just like, okay, yeah, I get that. But you've also just basically been like, and my other guys just never fucking get it done. Like,
next up, boy, you want to throw 2 segments together that literally were just fucking all over the place. This is one of the few Hurt Syndicate segments I didn't like. They come out, they beat up Commander, and all of this just to set up MJF versus Mystico? I mean, what?
Okay, first of all, the MJF Hard Mystico was kind of funny.
I mean, he's always got an air of like.
That's one of the first ones in a while of it. Genuinely, I went, oh, okay, that's kind of funny.
Yeah.
You will always be. You will always be that shitty little mid carder from WWE to me. Mystical probably deep on the inside. It's like, I'm gonna fuck kill this kid in 2 weeks. I'm gonna go out the script and absolutely murder this little motherfucker.
Hey, Roosh did it.
Don't fuck with Roosh of all people. Like, yeah, he will probably severely beat the shit out of you. Yeah, this was odd. I really, like I told people, I'm like,
they come out, they hurt people. I'm okay with it because they're on. They're
I
on
don't
brand.
hate the faction. I still don't hate the story.
No.
But it's just never completely clicked, but I'm still into it.
But all of this happened just so you could have Mystico versus MJF set up? You had like 9 people in this fucking segment!
It was so weird. I don't know.
They want to get everybody and everybody on this show.
Well, no, but like...
Well, especially when it comes to his luchadors.
Well, no, but like, fucking you had Bobby Lashley, Shelton Benjamin took out Commander.
Yep.
Okay. You know, but Commander was supposed to be, you know, with Kevin Knight and Hong Kong Phooey. I mean, Speedball Mike Bailey. Sorry, but Jim Cornette's made that way too funny. He does look a little bit like Hong Kong Phooey.
Right.
It's a little funny. It's a little funny. And Tony Khan...
That's true.
With Commander taken out, Tony Khan announced he would be replaced by Mascara Dorado. Like, okay, we're up to how many people in this fucking situation right now?
Oh, by the way, there's a lot of Mexican wrestlers. For everyone who just asked, and I'll answer that now, we will always go live at 3:30 p.m. CST. Everyone gets an invite. I will make sure everyone next week gets an invite. But the best way to find out is to join the Patreon for a buck, because also this week we start our live reactions. Now back to this.
We're on like six people.
I know. I will say this. I did not hate the segment. It is a lot of fun.
All right. Hold on.
This story.
Hold on, Leroy.
Yes.
You keep doing your job, but Jesse. Okay, so that happened.
Well, no, I got a question we can do later with the sister there. Thanks for coming again.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Okay, but anyway, no. Okay, so all right, so we had MJF, Bobby Lashley, Shelton Benjamin took out Commander.
Yes.
I'm up to 4.
Yeah.
Okay, now, not all these people were there, but these are all the people that are mentioned in these segments.
Correct.
So we had MJF, Bobby Lashley, Shelton Benjamin, Commander.
Mm-hmm.
We had, MVP, sorry.
Oh,
he's
5.
not in here, but he's there. So we're up to 5.
5. Okay, we got 5.
Commander was supposed to team with Kevin Knight and Speedball Mike Bailey. So that's 7.
Correct.
But now
7.
we're going to remove Commander and go back down to 6.
Ooh.
But Tony Khan, that's 7,
No, jeez.
announced that because Commander was out, he will be replaced by Mascara Dorado. We're up to 8. So we've taken out Commander and added 2 people.
That's 8.
Then Mystico.
8. No, that's
Square.
9. Is that 9?
Yeah, Mystico is 9.
Yeah,
then
9.
Mystico was facing off against Blake. I just take L's Christensen in AEW. Has he won once since he's been here on television?
I think he has one.
So that's a cool 10.
Anyway, Mystico rallied. He beat Christensen. Okay. Then his celebration was interrupted by, and don't count these as new people because they were already here.
Okay, so we got 10.
10. But MJF, Bobby Lashley, Shelton Benjamin, and MVP all came back out.
Mm-hmm.
And then that is when MJF and Mystico got into their thing to set up a match at Grand Slam Mexico.
Ooh.
And all of this to be halted by now Mascara Dorado was there the whole time. Kevin Knight and Speedball all came out to make the save on Mystico. So
was that 2 more people?
No.
Or they're all
They were already there.
They were already there.
God dang.
But remember, Mascara Dorado was replaced. But Jesse, then they gave it away that he was already in the building by having him do a run-in. If anything, have Kevin Knight and Speedball come down with a weapon. Kevin Knight's a big dude, though, so you might be able to scare them off and make it look real. But just, have them come down with, weapons, scare off the Hurt Syndicate, and MVP do his little chicken shit thing of, not now, back it up. And don't bring out Mascara Dorado, who you just announced, who, by the way, for all of you who are not in the know, was already in the back.
Okay, you know what?
I'm a little disappointed.
No,
I was hoping for a Baker Dozen at that moment.
I'm going to say something, and I'll probably take some heat. I did not hate the segment, but at a rap concert, that's too many niggas. That's too many. That's too many niggas. That's too many people. That's too many.
Or if you're our president, that's too many Mexicans.
Way too many Mexicans. You have to cut back on the Mexicans. Didn't I have 3 of them deported? No, listen.
So it's bad.
You can't deport them without their identity, and that's why they keep the mask on.
Great.
Was I hoping for Baker's Dozen was too much?
This was a lot of niggas. With 3 niggas out there. And then a Jew. So, there's a lot of motherfuckers.
He's from New York. He's allowed to get away with that.
This was a lot of people.
And by the way, Leroy, if you want want to know why this was so annoying? Because the 6-man tag match that Commander, no longer here, was supposed to be in was next.
Oh my God, I'm Corey.
So hold on. Let me take 30 seconds, and I'm gonna make a WWE audience love this, and here's why, Jesse.
We had too many people. Everybody can't.
So hold on. Back up.
Okay.
This 6-man match isn't happening, or no, it's supposed to happen tonight. So
we'll put it in reverse.
Hold on. Okay, so Jesse, let's say the 6-man match is supposed to be tonight.
Right.
Well, okay, we beat up Commander. Well, okay, whatever. Tony Khan has announced I will replace him with Mascara Dorado.
Correct.
But now we'll move the match to next week.
Correct.
Well, now we have this big skirmish.
Correct.
So now they're all mad and say, fuck it, let's do it this week.
Correct.
Okay, Mascara Dorado is not here. And all of a sudden, when the Hurt Syndicate is beating them down because the numbers game is too strong, hit the fucking music. It's Mascara Dorado. He comes in, he clears the room, we go to commercial break, we come back. It's a 6-man tag. How fucking simple this could have been.
And it's still too many niggas. Like, it's just too many people. It's just like, it's because it's unlike the Royal Rumble where you expect this many people.
Well, yeah.
Like, this was just, the last time WWE did this, actually, it drove me crazy too, which wasn't that long ago. It was, remember, it was...
Well, the Royal Rumble, I'm expecting 30 guys to go.
Well, actually, this year was much better. I'll give Triple H credit. Because he had Seth destroy everyone like in their respective matches before Money in the Bank. So I will give him credit for that. And then with the women, it was kept strictly to the 6 women.
Yes.
Because 3 years ago, before the next match, it was the 6 men, 2 tag teams, had nothing to fucking do with the match. And I'm just like, okay, we're up to like 15 people. This is too many niggas. There's too many people here. This is not a fucking party.
What Jesse is
Somebody has to go.
What Jesse is referring to our less musically inclined white audience. Sometimes a rap show, Jesse will, and I've seen this. All of a sudden, there's the turn. So there's your DJ, there's the artist, and suddenly 14 dudes in his posse are on stage.
Are on stage, jumping, yeah. And it's like, okay, too many niggas. Get them niggas off the stage.
I didn't pay for you guys.
Keep 2 of them. If you need the hype men, keep the dancers. That's a part of your show. The rest of these niggas gotta go.
Well, that's
I don't know why they're here.
Well, yeah, we always keep the dancers because they're always good to look at.
Well, Jesse,
I grew up with them. Don't care. Get them niggas off the stage.
Well, Jesse, that's why Public Enemy is so beloved as like innovators of rap because the only hype man they needed was Flavor Flav.
And that's all they needed. No, this
Him
was,
and the clock, yeah.
And by the way, the match was good. But I'm just like, when we got past this whole segment, I'm like, 5. My math is correct. This was I thought it was 14, so clearly it was only 10.
Yeah.
I'm like, that was too many.
You thought it was a baker's dozen.
I'm like, that was too many people for one second.
Well, but to be fair, it was actually 11. But remember, I removed Commander because technically he was hurt and no longer in the match.
Yeah, that's too many people. That's too many people.
Speaking of too many people, we went on after that wonderful. Now we're tired from too many people. Next up, how do we get your spirits back? How do we get the crowd back? The Death Riders.
That ain't gonna work.
Well, duh. Well, no, hold on. The Death Riders minus Pac, because I'm sorry, no one has this many visa issues, even with the United States immigration system. I don't think Pac wants to do this.
I think he's embarrassed.
I think he doesn't want to be a part of this. Nobody from the UK has this many visa issues.
He's white.
Exactly. young Japanese girls who necessarily, Jesse, maybe don't understand immigration, I get, but Pac lived in this country for like 2.5 years.
No, he's white. He don't want to be there.
He can come in this country. He's white, so it's all right.
He don't want to.
I think he lives in a small village just outside England, so he can hide.
He's doing the smart thing for his career.
Yeah, but anyway, so
Yes,
I want to point out, this is exactly what they wrote. A disturbing scene unfolded as Hangman was dragged to the ring by the Death Riders. They had to explain who they were. John Moxley, Claudio Castagnoli, Wheeler Yuta, and Marina Shafir. I'm pretty sure we know who. We're on your website. I'm pretty sure if anyone reading this knows.
No, I still don't know who Marina Shafir is.
I mean, that's fair.
I don't know her.
Hold on. Paige, bound and gagged, was thrown defenseless. The monkeys are back. I've never seen this in my life. But Paige, bound and gagged, was thrown defenseless defenselessly into the ring. I think you could have just said defenseless.
You could have just said, at some point they must have...
They want to add big words there.
They threw him into the ring, and then they spoke. And then you don't even need to say anything else because everyone's like, well, so what was next?
And now I get the distinct honor and privilege, and you can see me on camera roll my fucking eyes, of reading off another well-worded and properly grammar-sized Jon Moxley promo.
Do we have to?
It's not that long.
It's...
Did his wife type it up for him?
It's like... At this point, it's like
Maybe.
listening to...
She might as well put it in French. It'll make more sense.
I would rather listen to Marjorie Taylor Greene speak at this point. Like...
Wow!
Yeah. Like,
Wow!
I
hate that word.
There's no promo here.
Well, but see, Jesse, I have to because sadly Leroy didn't watch.
I said, like the young bucks should be doing, I was getting in touch with my Lord and God Savior.
All right, let me read this.
And praying for everybody.
Now, mind you, folks, Hangman Adam Page
I'm
for
still-
the last
I'm
3 weeks.
I'm working on it.
Hold on, boys. Hangman Adam Page for the last 3 weeks has been involved in a situation where he has won a world title shot, spoken to the top talent saying he needs to get this. Now he's bound and gagged on the ground, and a man randomly comes up and says, "For a long time now, you've been searching high and low for something. I don't know what it is you've been searching for, but you have exactly 4 weeks to find it. You have exactly 4 weeks to step up and become the man that everyone wants you to become. And if you're not prepared to do that, you can pack your shit and get the hell out." He's been searching for Swerve!
I'm sorry. So, question, John, did you not watch the black man almost get his ass whooped before the Englishman got his ass whooped for the black man that you're looking for?
Because that's what Page was searching for the last...
So now AEW has the former WWE problem where clearly no one watches the fucking show.
You know what? I can almost guarantee you that because that was still during the Vince era, I think Roman just told Vince, fuck it, we're going to kill that trope.
Well, during his, during the Tribal Chief run, yeah, thankfully.
He just was like, no, I'm not on the show, I'm watching it.
That was one of the best things that happened during the pandemic era. Like, I was on vacation, and I watched the show, and last week I'm not here, and everything just sucks. And it was like, well, thank God somebody's finally watching the fucking show. I wasn't here last week.
Even on vacation.
But I heard, get the fuck out of here. Clearly John is there and sober, but they were so busy whooping him and
Not to mention the fact... Okay, so let's play John's fucking mind game for 2 seconds. Hold on, let me take a swig of whatever in this water bottle.
I hope good water.
I want to give him credit. He's been sober. I do want to give him credit.
Yeah, but here's the problem. I gotta get drunk just to follow this shit. So let me just make something. Okay,
right.
Let me try to get on this plane of existence for 5 seconds. Okay.
Good luck.
Let's just follow John for a minute, shall we?
No.
All right, fine. Next segment. No. You've been searching high and low. Jesse, Hangman hasn't exactly been quiet about what he's been fucking searching for. No. It's been Swerve the whole time.
Correct.
So why are we asking?
Okay, can I say this really quick? Please. There are 10 black people on the roster. Swerve is the one main one that gets all the TV time.
Are you sure? There is 10 black
There's
people?
10. How hard is it to find one nigga?
I guess really hard.
And by the way, they're in one of the whitest towns. You can't find one nigga backstage. He's with the other loudest nigga in the building. Go find him. And he's not as big as the big nigga, Bobby Lashley. I'm having a hard time understanding this.
They were in Portland, Oregon, for those of you wondering.
One of the widest fucking cities on the planet.
That is true. That is true.
John and Hangman, I'm sorry. I'm having trouble believing this is a black dude that Swerve Strickland, who always has
Hold on. In my mistake, I think I found out why. For those of you wondering, we forgot that directly after all that craziness with all the too many guys, there was the 6-man tag match with the Hurt Syndicate versus Speedball Mike Bailey and Kevin Knight. So you got all the Hurt Syndicate and Kevin Knight out of the way. So
and so that's 5 niggas gone. So you can't find the other nigga with one loud little not a quiet man. I love Nana, but Nana is not a quiet man.
Well, he's always dancing, so he always knew he is.
So you can't find the nigga dancing.
Well, he couldn't because he was bound and gagged by the Death Riders.
Well, hey, like Randy Pierre, he can't say anything. He lost words because he's been a long week. He must have been watching.
I know I'm at loss for words.
You need a vacation, but if that school's
there
over,
are
so you're not
10
working
black
that
people
much.
on this roster, and everyone's looking for Swerve, and no one can find him after he doesn't get his ass whooped.
You know, it's funny. They actually recently did an interview with the Hurt Syndicate about how much they love Cedric, and they're like, "Oh, he might be coming soon." I'm like, so he's gonna go work for the company that treated his wife like shit?
I still don't see it, but it could happen because
Money talks.
Money talks, and MVP
Bullshit
apparently
works.
is very persuasive.
Yeah.
So,
So anyway.
So they're gonna add. So we're gonna have 11 African American.
Well, they'll be down to 9 because private parties' contracts are up.
And WWE probably wants those
They
guys.
WWE is probably going to get them into the
I did see
So
rumors
anyway,
that they might want them to come into the show.
So anyway, in a defiant response, Hangman courageously, wow, they got to put that in there. They can't just give a review.
Your soul fucking hates Hangman so much that you saw the word courageous, and that was the one thing you had to pick out real quick.
Well, hold on. So anyway, he headbutted Moxley. However, the Death Riders immediately. Okay, hold on. I was talking about the grammar. Here's where it gets even fucking weirder. So let me read this again. In defiant response, Hangman courageously headbutted Moxley, briefly retaliating despite being restrained. We knew he was restrained. We didn't need that in the review. Next sentence. However, the Death Riders immediately escalated their violence.
The next time I have to watch this bitch choke out a man, I'm gonna lose my mind.
She choked out somebody again?
The next time I have to watch Marina Shafir choke out a man, well, it's on like seriously. I was happy that Stephanie went purely to the office after a while because that second run or that third run,
she loved emasculating.
She loved emasculating people, and I'm like, I am waiting. It finally happened with Brock Lesnar the second time around. Like, I'm waiting for a man that Vince will not say, like, don't say anything to my daughter to, because that shit will stop. And it did.
Because it was Brock.
Because Brock was probably like, I will fuck her up in that ring. And you still have to pay me. And Vince is like, well, yeah, I guess.
So, anyway, you want to talk about too many people. So, they were about to, you know.
And why is Willow the only woman willing to fight her?
I don't know.
Willow? I don't know.
Toni Storm is one of the baddest women on the planet.
So hold on, we're still in this. Well, no, hold on. Actually, we'll get to that in a minute as to why not. Because top talent don't interact with Death Riders. Anyway,
probably for their own.
Randy Carey's giving me crap for my grammar. You should check the AEW website and see how they do their grammar on there because monkeys are typing over there, as Zach says all the time. It's fun.
Well, anyway,
Zach's actually making it through it.
Yeah. Anyway, too many people. So they're about to break Paige's neck, and apparently, again, no one's gonna stop them from management. They got a big title match at this giant show that's in a baseball stadium, and nobody from management's gonna stop them from breaking the neck of their fucking challenger. So they get saved by the Ops.
Which, cool. I love. Anytime I can see Samoa Joe, I'm happy. But once again, the fact that you jump apparently at some point you jump Hangman Page.
Oh yeah, he was doing a movie or a show
because he was looking for Swerve's help, and then he wanted Swerve. After Swerve got saved by the Englishman, even though at this point we all need Hangman Page to win this title. Because the fact that maybe they have fucking handicapped their main event scene for Darby Allin is insanity.
Can we finish the segment, please?
No, I am.
Okay, all right.
And so he gets saved by the Samoan who probably should have won, and you wonder why.
Well, okay, so you got
300,000 people fucking left the fucking show.
So hold on, you asked me.
Show.
So hold on, you asked me last week what it is about Adam Page speaking. What he said once he recovered, this really got you interested? I have come too far and I am too close for them to be the best that you've got. Because I would ride through death itself to take that world championship.
Okay.
Oh, so now you're going to come over here.
Okay. You know what? Fuck it. If me and you got to have it out, we got to have it out. So whoever's here live, you're about to witness them. If we got to have it out, we got to have it out. Okay.
Well, we have to get to the reuniting of a great...
No, fuck that. You talked your shit. Now we got to have it out. I would rather listen to this bad promo than listen to John Moxley.
At least you admitted it was a bad promo.
It was a bad promo.
Moving on. But I got
John Moxley is way worse.
I'm not denying that, but the bar is low enough to where all I
almost wish Viking Brock would sign with this company.
Man,
be the best thing to happen to them.
So next up, hey, Jesse, do you remember when Anna Jay came back after a great, Japanese tour? But now Ty Mello is no longer pregnant, so we got to have something to do with these two. So we'll put them back in the same shit they were doing months ago. At least the Iconics, when they got back to TNA, made it funny.
You know what? Let's be real.
I got pregnant. Then she got pregnant. Then I got pregnant again. And now we're back.
I'm actually going to give Tony Khan credit where he's better than WWE right now.
That happens sometimes.
At least Anna Jay's on TV. Where the fuck is Omos?
Doing interviews with Chris Van Boy. What are you talking about?
That's fucked up.
That's true. He is doing that.
Dude, once again, because they were both doing good shit in Japan.
Yeah.
And then
both got pulled. I mean, at least Anna Jay's on TV.
Okay, so let me ask you this. So let's get down to somewhat of an analytical thing. Are you seeing enough from Megan Bayne right now that this is the person they should be pushing?
The problem is forcing someone to develop while putting them in the prime spot.
Yeah.
Is very difficult for that person to do if you're not protecting them as they're growing into their role. And she's not being given a chance to grow into a main event woman, though Toni Storm has done everything she possibly can do. Once again, now after I gave Tony Khan credit, now it's time to slam him. Your champion is doing everything she can to help elevate this woman. You are failing her because you're not protecting her. And if you want this woman to be what she could be, which is a star within your company, because I'm guessing at some point the other one who was a mega star is going to just leave, and I'm talking about the dentist.
Where is she then?
Yeah, just sitting on the sidelines, walking the Stark's world.
And we'll see her.
Because you shouldn't have spoke up.
Didn't Keith Lee also recently come out and say he's perfectly healthy, just waiting for something to do?
Yeah. His contract's almost up, though.
Oh, triple.
Oh, so three less black people, so we're going to be down to 8. So
it's a nice round number, I guess.
See, folks, there was a tie in there.
And when they all show up in February, LIVESTREAM going to be pissed. So here's the thing.
Oh, my God.
By the way, because I'm done hearing about Carmelo Hayes. Carmelo Hayes gets put in prime position. And by the way, didn't take the pin in that match. LA Knight did.
Exactly.
So, I'm actually tired of hearing about Triple H doesn't like black talent. Hayes, unlike Megan Bayne, is being protected.
Well, but Jesse, he's also explaining to you guys, hey, you want to know what kind of hurts Carmelo Hayes? He got called up. There's all these main event guys that he's kind of working with, but he sells like a motherfucker.
That doesn't hurt him, though.
No, Jesse. But that's the thing. He's trying to tell you. He's doing his job.
Right.
Yeah, he is.
He's growing as a performer.
He's doing a very good job.
Was I nervous about the Miz thing? Yeah. But to be honest, it's actually helped his promos more. Because to give Miz this, he's one of the better promos when he's not being given dog shit to work with.
Right.
So Tony Khan needs to protect Megan Bayne if you give a fuck about your women's division.
So anyway, next up, we'll get through this. Jesse, they unveiled, I like it, the Unified Championship.
I do.
And this is where Okada supposedly has joined the Callis family.
I guess.
Which means that Takeshita is now the 4th most important person in the Callis family instead of the 3rd most important person in the Callis family.
You know where Takeshita would look really good? After I talked about all this talent not leaving AEW and they should stay. I think Paul Heyman would be a great mouthpiece for Takeshita.
Oh, God. Can you imagine?
In that group with Seth?
Oh,
being
God.
group as a replacement for Seth?
the quiet dude just standing in the back, and then eventually just cuts the neck off the snake.
Because of course every now and then, like, the big guys are gonna fail, right?
Yeah.
And we've been talking about that fourth guy. Maybe they should add to the group.
Yeah.
Who's Takeshita? Except could just be like, kill him. We're done. And that's the dude who's your assassin? Fuck yes.
Next up, for whatever goddamn reason, we had a contract signing with two of the biggest stars of the last 20 years. Immediately into Kyle Fletcher versus Anthony Bowens with Adam Cole on commentary.
Here's the thing, though. You should read that, and I should be like, man, the future looks.
Shouldn't you?
Well, think about it, though.
Shouldn't you feel like
You should. If there's a match going on with Kyle Fletcher, Anthony Bowens,
and Adam Cole
and Adam
is
Cole's
involved,
the third person involved,
you
should be
say
like,
those three names a year ago?
and you should be like, man, the future feels real bright right now.
Also, technically, shouldn't Anthony Bowens be in a quote-unquote at least 3-month blood feud with his former tag team partner?
I've given up on that.
That ended in fucking 15 seconds.
They absolutely hate Max Caster apparently in AEW. And so like I'm sitting there though, and I'm just like, yeah, but boy, this is for a title that no one gives a shit about anymore.
Yeah,
This title means less than nothing.
yeah.
I'll give Adam Cole this; he's trying, but.
And by the way, oddly enough, for the first fucking time in a while, but again, is the bloom off the rose, as Jim Cornette likes to say. I mean, Kyle got a win on television, but I mean...
The dude's one of the most solid people that they have on the roster, but...
And actually, Jim was right. Him cutting his hair was not a good idea.
No,
Because it made him stick out.
Yeah.
But the problem that everybody has is that, Jesse, when Stone Cold was Stone Cold, he was the only really bald guy on the show.
For the most part, yeah.
So like when a bald guy showed up, you were like, you knew who that fucking was.
Right.
Now everyone's trying to do the bald game, and it's like, even when in 2009 when Randy Orton was,
Fucking menace.
a menace, he was the only really bald guy on the show.
Yeah.
And now they have like 7 of these guys. It doesn't help that your boy Gabe Kidd showed up, and he kind of just looks like Josh Alexander right now.
Speaking of a name,
We'll get to it.
Yeah.
FTR interrupted Atlantis Senior and Junior.
We got some good questions for later on.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I love that, guys. Stick around.
Keep
Oh,
going,
yeah.
keep going.
But remember,
Or if you're gonna stick around, come back when we're
But
done.
remember, those questions will not be on this episode when it gets released on Spotify and Patreon. Leroy will be cutting the audio and will be sticking live on YouTube.
Correct.
So hopefully you know how to do that, Leroy.
What? Stop the audio
And then keep
and not.
and then keep the audio
Okay.
live on YouTube.
It's that little button that says end stream. I'm not
So
gonna
continue
touch
what you were saying. You goddamn two people. Go ahead.
I'm smarter than you look, Zach. All right.
Well, that's not hard to do.
That's
that is not hard to do.
Have you seen me? Anyway.
I do.
Jesse, the formerly
I
best
pray
tag
for his
team-
wife all the time because she has to put up with him.
So do I. The formerly best tag team in the world,
love you,
FTR,
Allison.
is dealing with Atlantis Senior and Atlantis Junior. And Adam Cole has had enough, and chaos ensues. That's what this says.
Your last contract, right, boys? Your last contract. Your last contract, and this is what you want to do.
They're working with a former luchador and his son.
Which is fine,
Which is fine, I guess.
but like WrestleMania caliber talent who just whatever. Okay,
Yeah.
whatever. And by the way, at this juncture, like every time you're the tag team champions, look what happens to the tag team division between you guys and the Bucks. It never helps the tag team.
And
division.
then we go for some strange reason. Oh yeah,
And by the way, I don't hate FTR. For those who are watching and listening, it's just it feels like their career's ending on a whimper.
Oh yeah, no, they're just kind of phasing their
Yeah.
way out. It's kind of like the whole thing of like after he won his ring, you were like, oh yeah, Dwight Howard was still in the NBA for 2-3 more years, but he wasn't on the Lakers, and no one really knew where he was. And then he went and dominated in Thailand. But it's like, okay, he's gonna dominate in Thailand. He's a former Defensive Player of the Year
He's
at
like
the
a
end of the day.
15-year vet at this point.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
They're all kids, like no shit.
Who are also 4 feet shorter than
Right.
us. Like it wasn't like you were Godzilla to them, bro. Like
Correct.
it is what it is. Also, by the way, for those of you wondering, we brought out Bandito and Templario in this whole segment.
Cool.
Yeah.
Tony Khan really likes Luchadors.
Everyone's like, WWE threw Luchadors. For one show called Worlds Collide, they haven't been seen since.
Tony's butt hurt, so he's putting all of them under there.
Triple H has slowly gotten better with his Mexican wrestlers. Tony Khan has been doing this for like 2 years now.
Yeah. Next up, Big Bill and Brian Keith are gonna get.
Big Billy.
It's always funny. So yeah, for those of you wondering, they had a street fight with the Gates of Agony that nobody paid attention to because.
One match though.
Yeah, well, it was a good match, but no one paid attention because it was never built up.
Right.
So for those of you wondering, now they're going to be going against J.D. Drake and Anthony Henry, the Workhorsemen, who haven't been seen on this show for whoever knows how.
I forgot he fucking hired that guy back after he fired him. I forgot about that. And that was like a year ago. That's crazy.
Also, you want to bury talent. Boy, I bet this made Jesse feel
I actually
good.
love J.D. Drake. They just never use him.
Yeah. I bet Jesse was, so is that 9 black guys?
Wait, who was the ninth?
I'm
We
joking.
gotta look up the roster and see how many.
I'm joking.
We'll see if Jesse is right.
I brought back J.D. Drake, so it was like, hey, you know, is that more people coming back in?
I wish J.D. was black. He can come to the barbecue. J.D.'s cool.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know.
I like J.D. I mean, J.D. Drake's like an old school wrestler, like just big, ugly, and fucking hurts people. I love it. They just don't use him enough.
Yeah. Anyway, next up, Jesse, I'm sure you love this. With no build out of nowhere except for like maybe a week about this 4-hour summer blockbuster extravaganza. I mean, Julia Hart's back, and she just immediately loses to fucking Toni Storm in the middle of her or working with Mercedes Moné.
The worst thing any of them did was stay when Tom left, man, and re-sign contracts. Like, and I respect it, and look, I love Brody King, the fucking Death Man.
He's one of the nicest guys.
I think Buddy Matthews is one of the sweetest people, one of the best wrestlers on the fucking planet. And I could gush all day about Julia's future as a performer. But boy, these three should have never fucking resigned. Abaddon luckily just allowed her contract to expire. Good
Their
for her.
contract is-
Sorry, thank you. Their contract. Like, good for them. You're better off hitting the indies for now until you get a call from one of the companies, TNA, WWE, which is probably where they will be headed. I love these two to death, or these three to death. And I respect Buddy's reasoning for staying. All they have done is eat L's since he left. Since they rebranded, all they've done is eat L's.
Let's say follow Abbott on.
I do.
Yeah, we do on our
I'm saying,
X page. He's fun to watch.
I do always.
Just like,
also because we're in the wrestling business, and I would love to do that interview. But I'm just. I wanted you guys to do that interview, but I'm just.
I know you wouldn't be able to.
I am at a fucking loss when it comes to these three. Why are they doing nothing? Yeah.
So anyway, we have to get through Collision.
Go ahead, go ahead,
quickly,
go
no
ahead.
Watch, so we got to finish up.
Go ahead.
So anyway,
Yeah, we've been talking too long.
So anyway, they did this long ass thing with Mercedes and Sky Blue and all this other
There's this
stuff.
bitch
and-
eating steak that looks like it's 3 days old.
Anyway, next up, Jesse, because this is what we want to see late in the first 2
They
hours.
could have had
of-
a better steak, I think.
There you go, Jesse. This is what you want to see late in the middle of this 4-hour thing.
No.
We're clearly following Ricochet's recruitment. Is he still a good heel, Jesse, or can I finally be annoyed by this?
the person on the internet is ruining the character for me every fucking day.
Is he recruiting more people to take L's like him, or what? Maybe.
Somebody brought up though that WWE, posted that like he's going to be out for an undisclosed amount of time. They're like, man, thank God for Braun Breaker.
Yeah, right. Everyone's just gonna forget that you're.
Man, it's a damn shame that Braun Breaker took him out, man.
If he ever does come back, the first person he works with needs to just say, "Man, that indefinite long time was a long time."
That was a long time, buddy.
What did you do in that time? Meditate? Also, I'm sorry, why is Ricochet telling Lee Johnson and Blake Christensen they can't be a part of the group? You ain't got anyone in the group.
There's just so much good young talent in AEW that just needs catering.
Well,
it's
dude,
so fucked up, bro.
Well, dude, I've actually had people message me now off the show being like, you keep talking about him like he's something. Man, yeah, Blake Christensen's had a heck of a run since he left WWE.
If you go watch the Indies, yes.
But then he goes on TV in AEW, and you're like, what the hell is going on?
I think he's right back in WWE.
Next up, we had a mixed trios match. Willow is no longer involved with the Death Rider. She's involved with MNX Collection and Taya Valkyrie versus Mark Briscoe and Tomohiro Ishii.
Love Tomo. Anytime I see Tomo, I'm a happy man. That's my pit bull. But why is she still the only woman that's like okay? And now she's doing a different feud. Like, I love Willow. She's great for AEW.
What was officially the end of Dynamite? I'm not exactly sure here. Was that the... I don't even know because the rest of this just looks like a bunch of collision.
It's all collision shit now.
Yeah.
But yeah,
For those of you wondering, you didn't watch. No, I watched too much wrestling in a week to worry about this 4-hour fucking bullshit.
Oh, I watched it on YouTube. I'm pretty sure it ended with the.
Anyway, next up, Wheeler Yuta reconnected with Chris Statlander.
Oh, how sweet.
He wasn't the best friends for a while, wasn't he? I forgot about that.
Yep.
Hey, you know what we gotta work on? I need 2 freaking screens over here.
Thanks for paying attention, Leroy.
Man,
I am, but I'm like, I got so much stuff. I need 2 screens.
Yeah, and I'll work on that. But my God, I was trying to fucking mourn, and you ruined it.
Next up after that, we had Bandito versus the Beast Muertos.
The Beast Muertos. Could he get that out there?
This man.
I'm laughing because this shit fucking just went on forever.
This man only has a job because of how he looks, bro. Can we be real?
Is this show's run like the song that never ends?
Anytime I see Beast Mortar show up, I am reminded that Tony Khan is a big fucking kid. Because that's the only reason Beast Mortos is always on my television on Collision.
Yeah, that's true.
So by the way,
he gets no pushes.
So by the way, for those of you wondering, we had the 2 hours. We changed shows, but now we're gonna finish up stuff we did the first 2 hours and the last 2 hours because this is where Mercedes Moné challenge got accepted for the fact that now she's going to take on the CMLL World Women's Champion.
Naomi's doing pretty okay.
And get another title.
Naomi's doing pretty damn good.
I really hope not, but she's probably going to win another title. You know that?
Don't care. Naomi's doing really good.
Also,
she is.
Also now part of the backstage AEW Summer Blockbuster. Hangman, after all the shit I just mentioned, is still searching for the Young Bucks.
They went home to Rancho Cucamonga. Yeah, you know.
Rancho Cucamonga. There you go.
Thank you. My tongue was tied there.
There you go.
Don't even talk about the rest of this. For the people who had to sit through 4 hours of this, and
he found them, by the way.
And you were like, why did I end up getting the tickets to do this for 4 hours? Tony Khan owes you an apology. Tony Khan owes you an apology. I mean, you're not going to get your money back because you spent the money, but Tony Khan owes you an apology. Because this is almost as bad as Brock ruining fucking Hell in a Cell. This all 4 hours. Like you deserve an apology. You're not going to get your money back because you spent it. That's your fault.
I love how you're saying this during the Hangman Adam Page portion of Collision.
I'm not saying that because it's fucking Collision. The show does not matter. The show has not mattered in ages.
Also, Leroy, did you know?
Yeah.
Did you know that Hangman found the Bucks?
Oh, awesome.
Or no, sorry. Yeah. You
know what? You guys, I'm gonna watch porn. You guys go ahead.
Hangman anxiously checked on Will Ospreay.
Jesse,
how's the chat doing?
Jesse, we can't do that on company time.
I'm doing it right now.
Oh, jeez. The chat is doing good.
So anyway, Hangman Page late.
Crander's kind of trolling me, I think.
Well, that's fair.
I know,
Hangman anxiously checked on Will Ospreay, even though Hangman wasn't involved in that situation. His concern was interrupted by the Young Bucks, attempting to justify their actions, saying, "We were aiming for Swerve." And then Page's response was, "Stay out of my business, stay out of Ospreay's business, and stay out of Swerve's business. Hold on, there's more." Unbeknownst to them, Nana was secretly eavesdropping behind the medical room door. Nana asked Swerve, "Boss, did you hear all that?" To which Swerve replied, "Every word." Jesse, why does that matter? Because it's not like Hangman said anything negative. You want to talk about you trying to defend the bullshit, but like, brother,
this is Hangman's fault?
He's involved.
This nigga's a jealous.
No, pause. No, pause. No.
I'm sorry. Did Hangman put himself in the segment?
No. No. Listen. Stop watching porn and listen. I explained to you why was the Nana thing relevant, because Hangman was actually telling the Bucks to get out. So what is Swerve listening to? He knows the Bucks were aiming for him. So why is this ominous? What is the point of Nana and Swerve's part of this whole segment? I'm actually defending Hangman because he said something that is apparently relevant, but why? So what is Swerve listening to?
Why are you replaying this?
No, I hit the wrong button.
You sure did. I don't understand.
I'm not even mad at Hangman. I'm trying to figure this out.
God, Collision fucking sucks. Collision is so bad.
And next up, we debuted her against Jamie Hayter, and guess what? There's no feud because it was Falca versus Queen Amanita.
And she won. Well, good for Queen Amanita, who decided to run her fucking mouth on Twitter for no reason. I don't know why. Queen Amanita, it's not that people hate AEW. Listen, when you're on Twitter, you're gonna see the worst of the worst. Like, congratulations. There's nothing to talk about there, but like Queen Amanita, like, you're one of the bright spots in the company. Please, and I get you're young, please do not allow Twitter and Reddit to make you think that everyone who watches AEW just wants to hate on it, but in the sickles are probably hard to love, even though they're your fan base. Because there's a fan base out there that actually does root for you. It's small. But it's a fan base that...
I really wanted to just stop talking because the end of this is just fucking nothing. But we have no choice because this used to be one of the biggest things happening on Dynamite. Apparently, with Leroy, I'm going to just pay attention to this because this actually happened. They did this. So now Kip Sabian is telling Nick Wayne that Christian's trying to get with his mom.
He probably already fucked her. That's what bothers me about this. Like, this bitch has been here for like 7 months. And by the way, I want Queen of the Ring to know, I'm not calling her personally a bitch, but her character. This boring bitch has been on my TV for 8 months standing by Christian Cage. And you're trying to tell me in kayfabe he hasn't already smashed with all the comments he's already made to Nick Wayne? What the fuck are we doing?
So why does this segment exist?
Because it's Collision.
And you want to know why they lost viewers? Because the ending was the Paragon Adam Cole, Kyle O'Reilly, and Roderick Strong. Guys, about 2-3 years ago, you were called something else, and you were a lot bigger. When you ended the show, there were actually people watching.
That haircut would have grown back in 4 months, man. Vince was going to be gone.
They teamed with Daniel Garcia versus the Don Callis family of Takeshita, Josh Alexander, Pechicero, and Lance Archer.
Hey, a haircut. You could have grown your hair back in 8 months. Vince would have been gone.
I'm glad that Jesse's doing that joke because I don't want to read the rest of the fucking
you could have got all the boys. Like Bobby Fish was right. You guys could have gotten the whole band back together. You could have.
The pop when they got back would have just been through the guy.
Would have been insane. Fucking trash.
Anyway, moving on from them, this is where we're going to need better help because we went through 4 hours of chaos. All right, so now we're going to get to some WWE stuff to close up. Jesse, I have so this is the number one WWE topic off rip. We're just going to get to this real quick because, once again, WWE had a week where the in-ring stuff kind of just made sense. There's no reason to do it match by match. But, Jesse, why is there so much, hatred towards... We talked about this. Jey Uso was never going to have a 200-day reign. This was... Look, Jesse... It was almost 2 months. Back in the day of when people were supposedly watching, they paid hot potato with the title, and you guys thought it was the pinnacle of the business. 2 months was a long reign.
Here's the thing.
It was.
Okay, let's talk about Jey Uso losing the title. Okay, outside of his dad, and his dad could feel whatever with Ishii. That's fine.
Yeah. That's fine.
This is a fucking nothing burger.
Yeah.
Because they actually partially ruined the fucking King of the Ring tournament because he was announced as
the
surprise entrant.
Yeah.
On Friday.
Which, that was before on Monday they spoiled the return of Randy Orton.
And also your future ex-wife there, Asuka. Because they ruined that too.
So let's talk about this all in one go, okay?
Okay.
So, Jey Uso losing the title, story-wise, is fine. You want to know why? Protect Jey Uso from Goldberg because Gunther will be fine. You don't want this to be a triple threat because guess who's eating the pin? Number 2.
And for how old he is, Triple H ain't Vince. He's not giving the title to Oldberg.
No.
Being a character.
Gunther would just beat you again in 4 weeks. So let's protect you now.
Goldberg can get the win, but not win the title.
But it's for the title.
He ain't winning.
No, he's not going to win. But he can be DQ'd and get the win anyways. And
Before I finish what I was going to say, I cannot fucking wait. As a matter of fact, I should go to Leroy's house and watch Saturday Night Main Event when your hero gets powerbombed on his old ass neck over and over and over and over. You know what? I might come home and fuck the shit out of my girlfriend when I'm done. I'm going to be so proud of Gunther.
Jesse, Goldberg's not my hero. You said Hogan's not coming out of retirement, so it's not Goldberg.
And then Gunther needs to go to Florida and fucking grab Hogan and powerbomb him over. And if he does that, they should put out a jacket. I will dress like Gunther for the rest of the year because he will be my hero. Fuck yes.
Don't you mean Sabrina Carpenter?
No. Goldberg in a hero.
That's just good shit.
I like Goldberg when he was with WCW and everything. Is that
fuck Goldberg.
Now it's all right. I'm looking at him right here too.
Back to Triple H and TKO fucking shit up. The matches were great. Now, let's put that out the way. We'll see Asuka tomorrow night on Raw. Gonna be great to see my wife, my future second wife.
Are we gonna do that live?
Yes.
Yes.
So for everyone, we will be live
working?
reacting. I will have it working.
Yep.
We will be live reacting to Raw, so come join us. That will be this week. We'll do it YouTube and Patreon, and I might do it a couple weeks YouTube and Patreon, but then it's going exclusive to Patreon. Okay. So
you got that figured
because
out.
I want that to be an intimate for everyone who joins the Patreon.
Yeah.
So only $1. Come join us.
So here's the thing. Though we will put it out later on YouTube. So here's the thing. I'm okay with Jey losing.
Same.
Triple H, here's where you fuck me up. here's where you fucked me up, man. Okay, so you ruined the surprise of Randy coming back, which you shouldn't have done. It would have actually been really fun to see, after what we saw on Friday, where, you know, Cody comes out to speak to John Cena, to hear his music. You're like, there he goes, he's back. Yeah, thank you, Triple H, for fucking ruining the surprise. I get you trying to treat us fans like we're not dumb, but a surprise is still nice.
Yeah.
You know, you did it really well with Johnny Gargano, and listen, the White 6 shit was great, like, because he was really invested in it. So, okay. So, Randy surprise being ruined sucked. Okay. You really did this with Asuka, though? Because it's not just me. I saw a cavalcade of people going, you know what would have been really cool? Is if Asuka just came out on Monday, knowing that technically one of the girls has been released, but the other two are still there from that group. And to know technically if she wins this, she can challenge her friend. Like, that would have been really fucking interesting. But now we just know she's in the tournament. Here's the other thing I'm going to kill Triple H on real quick. Can you do something with Karrion and make sure he doesn't get fucking released, please? Like, he's starting to get over. You guys love the fact that he's starting to get over. His contract runs out in December. Last time I checked, it is now June 15th. Time's fucking running out. TikTok, as he likes to say. Let's go, motherfucker. Now, Kevin seems to be not worried, so I'm going to assume he's heard positive news about this.
Right.
But yeah, Triple H, you started to frustrate me a little fucking bit. And then the last thing I want to kill Triple H on real quick. We got to do better with this Raw tag division. We got to.
I agree, because the SmackDown tag division is
on fire right now.
And they're standing on their own 2 feet, really.
And adding the Wyatt 6 to it actually might have been a great idea, because now now there's a really interesting story.
Yeah, no. I love how every time the Wyatt 6 do something, every single internet post is a bunch of people being like, shouldn't have done it, Bray's not there, this is that, boring, whatever. But the live crowd every week in different cities loves them.
They get the huge pops. Now, I will say this week on SmackDown, it was an odd one because you put two babyface teams against each other. And that Lexington crowd was kind of quiet most of the show. It wasn't just their match, to be fair.
Yeah.
That Lexington crowd was odd. You got to be better, Lexington. You're a great wrestling city. But yeah, you got to do better on that Raw tag division side.
What do you think? What are you looking for yourself? I mean, honestly.
Listen. So
somebody else to get the title, actually.
Well, I mean, just if the New Day are your heel tag team champions, fucking do something with it. These guys are barely in segments. And listen, this is not because they're black. He just hasn't used them on Raw because he he really loves to stick to that 2.5 hour time limit, which I have no problem with. You're like, hey, I want to get in and out on Raw. There's no problem.
Yeah.
But it's also made Raw kind of fucking boring at times.
Yeah.
I know, he's a lot of them on commentary and stuff like that, and that's about it.
But that's not enough.
They need more, yes.
That's not enough. Like, you got the Viking Raiders fully back. People into them. Use them more. Move the Yes Boys over to Raw because right now they're really lost in that SmackDown tag shuffle, and it would just be
I know. There's
off of SmackDown.
We don't have that many tag teams on Raw right now.
That's true too. That's the other problem.
Yeah.
Now maybe he's waiting for some of the male tag teams in NXT. I would not hold my fucking breath.
To bring some of them up.
A lot of them need work. And seriously, outside of the calling,
that's like why didn't they?
For the track team, you fucked around and put them on SmackDown, which made SmackDown's tag team division more fun. But it's just like,
why did they throw them on Raw? Yeah, they could bring some back. They could.
Oh, the last thing I do want to kill him on, and I have to kill him on.
All right.
I actually do have to kill him on. I get they're on the same show, so there's sometimes you have no choice.
Yeah, sometimes.
Nigga, if I see another match between Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley, I'm gonna lose my fucking mind.
Yeah.
If I see another motherfucking match between Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan, I'm gonna lose my shit. You've actually grown that division. Have Rhea, as you're starting to do with Stephanie McKeer, interact with more of these women. Like it's time. Like it's okay. And because, by the way, to give him credit, he's done a good job of making sure that Rhea's interaction with these women actually continues to pull them up. So, like Stephanie feels like a fucking star right now, which is great.
Yeah.
But yeah, if I see another motherfucking match involving Raquel Rodriguez, Liv Morgan, and Rhea Ripley, they need to end that feud with Raquel and Rhea very soon. At least make a pause on it, because I'm going to lose my motherfucking mind if I see her pull Rhea out of the ring again.
Well, lose your mind while you tweet it to Triple H and TKO one more time.
I already did it.
Okay,
I did it before we actually got together.
Perfect.
But
fans only ask that I remind you. Whether you've done it or not is irrelevant.
But now for the shit to give WWE credit on. First of all, this tournament looks fucking fire. That's
no, actually, the first and foremost is, boy, have they not had a single miscue with Jacob Fatu.
No, dude I still can't believe people actually thought. Well, of course they're scared to have Jacob Fatu there. He's going to become a bigger star than Roman. Yeah, no, that's the plan.
That's the fucking plan.
He's like 10 years, 12 years younger than Roman. That's the fucking plan.
And doesn't have cancer.
Right. Love Roman. He's been able to fucking wrestle and fight through all that, which is great.
Yeah, no.
But
it's great.
Yeah, that's the fucking plan. Is you gotta have a Roman replacement at some point, because even he knows he's got only a couple of years before he's like, my body's not gonna allow me to do pro wrestling anymore.
Right.
But
the Jacob Solo stuff.
By the way, Hikuleo, I have not watched the.
He beat up one of the.
He beat up Kit Harington. Not Kit Harington.
Kit Wilson.
Thank you.
Yeah. But now I have to ask you this.
Was he on? Because I saw he was on a
main event dark match.
He was on a main event dark match.
They said it was main event, but it doesn't sound like it's going to be a main event.
So, okay. So now, Jesse, let me ask you this as we move into the Jacob Fatu stuff. I actually like it only because I don't care what any wrestling fan wants to tell me unless it's bashing WWE. You motherfuckers didn't know that much about Jeff Cobb. I think Jeff Cobb's in the right place right now for where he needs to be. Also based on this, as much as I have loved Jeff Cobb over the years, he's never really been a main event player.
And he's not a talker.
Yes.
He's not a talker.
He was masked in Lucha
Like his best attribute is all his in-ring stuff, because unfortunately he was never a great promo.
Right.
Like you, I fucking love Jeff Cobb.
Yeah.
And also what's really cool about him being in WWE, and you're already seeing it, spot matches.
Yeah.
I'm going to put you in a match here because it'll show you off, and it'll keep you in story. We're going to do a match here because it'll show you off and keep you in story. Otherwise, you don't wrestle.
But that's my whole thing, is that people want to pretend like, oh, WWE's going to, WWE's this, that. Jesse, Ricky Starks was someone who clearly was a main event style player. He just wasn't used that way. He can talk, he can wrestle, he can go. He showed it, main roster, we'll move on. Ethan Page was clearly a guy who showed up, showed it, showed out, moved on. But the thing about it is, for those of you, once again, if you want to be educated and not just bash the brand, Jeff Cobb is kind of in the same place right now in WWE where he's been most of his career.
Well, yeah.
Because that's what, and again, love Jeff. He's been a great in-ring guy for a long time, but he's never been a guy that, in my opinion, deserves to be in the same category as a Ricky Starks, now Ricky Saints. Like they're not mistreating Jeff Cobb. Jeff Cobb is doing what Jeff Cobb's always done.
No, Jeff Cobb's in a perfect spot. Especially if you're going to turn Jacob Fatu babyface and get him out of quote-unquote bad bloodline, because I fucking told you, and I keep spoiling it for everyone, the Tongans ain't going nowhere, and they'll both be back. And so you really want to make a threat to Jacob Fatu. The fact that he will now have to face against Jeff Cobb, Solo Sikoa, Hikuleo, and both Tongan boys. Good luck, Jacob. That's now a mountain for him to climb.
Yeah, and
so
also
Hikuleo was not on SmackDown at all. No.
No.
No, so it was a dark match.
Yeah, I know it's a dark match, but they didn't. No.
But yeah, from what I understand, that match is not recorded for main event.
So possibly they have a run in.
So that he's probably showing up next week to whoop Jacobs.
How big is he, man?
6'8"?
You go find out.
6'8". I
6'8",
I saw a little clip of him, and all of a sudden he
like solid.
He a big motherfucker.
He went over the top rope. I was like, oh shit, he
a big motherfucker. But yeah, no, Jesse. But so does that mean that? But does that mean that Solo is going to chicken shit his way to take that title off of Jacob Fatu so they can move Jacob up?
Well, they're going to do this feud for a minute, so I do foresee Solo probably being the future United States champion.
And by the way, now that you said that, people, even though I've talked about Jacob's going to whoop him, that's still going to happen. But that doesn't mean that Jacob's going to win the match at the end of the feud. But Solo winning because there's 5 guys against Jacob. See, Tony.
It's understandable.
See, hey, Tony Khan, when you have a dude beat up 5 different guys, now he, like the fucking Death Rider, John does it by himself. I mean, like, you take out the rest of Death Riders, John still takes out everybody with one fucking chair. I'm like, yeah, now it's not believable because the guy has to literally be killed to fucking win. But if Jacob Fatu, even as great as he is, all gas, no brakes, all this, if Solo wins because he has to go through the Tongans, a 6'8" Tongan who's not named Tonga, and then fucking also go through Jeff Cobb. Like, Jesse, I actually think that, you're right, that they're going to beat Fatu by overdoing it.
Yeah.
And that's actually the best way to keep Jacob strong.
I'm about to say, you keep him strong when you look at that team and you go.
Because especially the WWE audience, they're going to subconsciously be like, oh yeah, he's still a big deal because, yeah, he lost to this goof Solo, but Solo had 5 other guys.
Yeah, he had 4 of the most dangerous motherfuckers after him.
Oh,
that was hard for him to overcome. Then you got to do the fun thing where him and Roman will probably tag to do that too. So yeah, I like a lot of what's going on with that bloodline setup. Okay, let's talk about my favorite thing that happened this week in WWE. Boy, CM Punk can still cook John Cena whenever he fucking pleases.
Oh yeah.
And I know John Cena knows it because he kept trying to hide his smile.
Yep.
Like this has always been the one motherfucker when we go toe to toe, he usually gets the best of me. CM Punk is still probably one of the absolute best talkers that ever existed in pro wrestling. Loved it. Listen, is it semi-hypocritical that he's going to end up in Saudi Arabia for a match? After what he said, what was that, fucking 8 years ago?
Yeah.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, but at the same time, Jesse, slightly hypocritical versus I grew up and I learned a little bit more and my opinion can change. Kind of the same thing.
I mean, I give him credit. I remember last year he took an ass whooping so he didn't have to go.
Right.
to Saudi Arabia.
Right. But my whole thing is that, okay, let's say he goes, he meets the people, they keep him away from the politicalness of it, and he just has a good time.
Oh, no, here's the thing. Triple H and I'm sure TKO are talking security because certain people probably have not forgotten that he tweeted that shit. But there's nothing wrong with him going to do this match with Saudi Arabia. Number one, by the way, I keep saying the Saudi Arabians are fans, which is why they've almost scaled back on a lot of the stuff they do in Saudi. And most of the time now when they go to Saudi Arabia, most of the Saudis that go, they're just wrestling. They're WWE fans.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah.
So they want to see CM Punk. So, yeah, it's...
They're not into seeing all the legends.
I'll call him a 20% hypocrite, but I can't wait to see the match. Now, here's the question. Because outside of Cody, I always said CM Punk probably had the best shot at taking this title off of
John.
Yeah. Yes.
But I'm not...
Not 100% sold on that?
Because the last time someone actually lost their title in Saudi Arabia was Seth to the Fiend.
Right.
And then, of course, unfortunately, 3 months later...
No. Remember, the Fiend lost to Goldberg.
Well, that's what I was getting to. 3 months later, in Saudi Arabia, then he lost it to Goldberg.
Well, you mentioned that Seth lost in Saudi.
Oh, well, so I get. Well, so Goldberg was the last.
I understand where you were now. Yeah.
Talk about me being pissed and the live reaction I probably should have did.
Yeah. Right.
The words I said about Vince McMahon probably cannot be put on YouTube. But I was fucking infuriated. But the way they have spun this, that interaction, and then, my God, the fact that they listen to the fans and they're allowing this last run for Ron is fucking phenomenal.
Well, when I watched that promo, I didn't see him on Friday, but watching that promo on Monday, wow. I was like, boom, he's coming up, and all of a sudden he starts and cuts his break. I was like, holy shit.
Well, the thing about Ron
that was a great way for him to say, I'm not R-Truth. Right. I'm Ron Killing.
Well, this is what's bothered me about the fact that whilst I understand where he's coming from, this is why I think Bully Ray is not thinking clearly on Busted Open, because it's like, yeah, you're taking away what got Truth over, but what Bubba's not thinking or realizing is, Jesse, this dude's just over no matter what.
Oh yeah.
R-Truth isn't losing everything that made him special to this audience.
I think Ron actually kind of helped, even kayfabe or not, I think he kind of helped to have Bubba understand.
Yeah.
I think you're missing the fucking point here, buddy.
Right.
I was fired. And thanks to the fans, I get to come back as my serious self, and I'm actually in big-time plans to do some shit on this last year re-signing run, which is a year and a half re-signing run.
Yeah.
Which is fucking great for him.
Yeah.
He's gonna probably get. I think we're gonna get him as champion.
Yeah.
Probably for a short time, but we're gonna probably finally get
it.
He
has, I think he has a match with John Cena next Friday.
Next Friday, but it's not a title match.
That's not
a title match.
No.
Okay.
But I'm guessing this one he will win.
Right.
So yeah, I'm really happy for Ron. And a little bit of fucking, drinking some humble juice for TKO.
We didn't talk too much about it last week, so we'll finish up here with this. I think what people have to understand is that TKO is hopefully behind the scenes now, listening to the wrestling people more, in that, guys.
Nick Khan saved that ass, boy.
Yeah. Yeah. Nick Khan said, and by the way, kudos to Nick Khan for not just being your typical corporate stooge and, really probably standing up and saying, okay, look, Ari, I know you own it, but I'm not just going to lay down and do nothing.
And by the way, really quick, I love that Triple H and Ron took the photo together and both posted afterwards, because there was this really weird contingent of people talking about, he wanted him fired. There's no way the name didn't pass his desk. Guys, he doesn't actually make those calls anymore. Baron Corbin has actually already explained that. Yes, our names might pass his desk, and he could go, wait, guys, why don't we just see if he'll lower his contract? And if you say no, then yeah, TKO probably just like.
Well, but Jesse, okay. Let's explain this in terms that other people have to understand. There are teams out there in pro sports who have a general manager. One of them is one of Jesse's teams. Jesse, your New York Knicks have a GM.
Yes, we do.
But clearly, as everyone's now reporting, this crazy world you live in where everyone is being denied access to already good coaches.
Like the ugly dude trying to get a prom date, yeah.
But Jesse, it's clear that they're forgetting that, yes, your GM, who is a very good GM, by the way, he's done a lot of good work for you guys, your GM can say something, but Jesse, all James Dolan has to do is snap his fucking dumb finger, and it's over. It doesn't matter. Because people forget. Jesse, it's not the Vikings, where Mark Wilf is in all these videos, he's doing all these interviews, yada yada.
Yeah.
But when it comes to football, he just writes the goddamn check in Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah in every video about contracts.
Right.
Because Mark Wilf is smart enough to realize I'm getting results out of this.
Right.
The culture's great.
Right.
I'm signing big players. They want to come play here.
Right.
We take care of their families. I'm making fucking buco bucks. It's costing me nothing. And he knows his guy is smart and he's not a dumbass.
Right.
And yeah, and by the way, Ziggy wasn't that way when he was the controlling president, but now Ziggy's older and Mark's involved. But like Mark and Ziggy hired Kwesi, hired Kevin O'Connell. They're in the background. They do an interview here and there. Sometimes I wonder what it would be like to be part of the Vikings YouTube and do an interview with Mark Wilf. Be like, you are worth so much more money than I fucking am. But neither here nor there. Neither here nor there. But Jesse, it's just like Mark Wilf stays out of the way because when it is announced that the Vikings made a decision, it is Kwesi and it is Kevin O'Connell.
Right.
They are the front story, but everyone knows there's ownership.
Right.
But ownership signs the check and moves on because they're getting results.
Right.
The problem here is that Triple H can talk about it, he can say it, he's the coach, and Nick Khan is the GM. But if Ari Emanuel or the board of TKO doesn't want to pay this guy, they have no power.
Correct.
A smart organization pulls back from ownership. That's why I say, may he rest in peace, Jim Irsay, when he had Peyton, was a good owner because he just kind of let them cook. Then he got a little crazy there in the end, and he decided to dip his foot in there, and
Well, because he made a bad GM hire, and he watched the other generation of quarterback retire too early.
Yeah. But anyway, my point is this.
And now the daughter decides to wear headsets on the field. We really got to start our sports show soon.
But yeah, no, Jesse, that's my thing. Guys, Triple H is not running WWE in the same capacity that Vince McMahon used to run WWE.
He can point them to names to resign, to sign, all that kind of stuff.
He can also, quote unquote, do contract negotiations.
Right.
But guess what? Triple H can sign Will Ospreay to $2 million. TKO can be like, that number doesn't work for us, and Will Ospreay's out the door.
Right.
That's how life works.
Right.
Triple H needs to stop being blamed, although I will say this. It's pretty easy to blame him when half you people do nothing but listen to the Wrestling Observer newsletter, and they blamed him literally, no, seriously, they blamed him literally moment one.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It was all of a sudden all Triple H, and I'm like, Dave, you know better than this. You're better connected than this.
No, he doesn't. Dave 20 years ago knew better.
That's
than
fair.
this. Dave Meltzer now.
He's getting old and senile.
No, he's a shill.
He's a stooge.
People throw that
that
out
too.
there because sometimes they'll get an opinion from someone and they don't like the opinion, so they'll call him a shill. But the actual definition of a shill is to be involved and to act, and then to actively always go against the person that you're involved with as competition, which is what he does because everyone knows he is in on the phone calls with Tony Khan.
Because he's admitted that twice.
Yes.
All right.
He's a shill.
All right. Before we get to the end of the show question, we will get to this because I know Jesse wanted to get a little bit on this last week, but he was also a little more tired, so he was kind of out of it. Hey, Jesse, will Mandy Rose ever shut the fuck up?
No.
What's that chick from the UK's name? Do you remember the one that always wants to do like 100 guys and then 1,000 guys?
She's engaged too.
Yeah.
Hang on.
Bonnie Blue. Something
Yeah.
like that. Bonnie
Yeah,
Blue.
something like that.
Leroy, this girl got herself banned from OnlyFans. Now,
Oh, yeah, I did hear about that.
to get your...
Lily Phillips.
and Bonnie Blue.
Yeah. Bonnie Blue. Yep.
And she got herself banned because
Yeah, I heard why
of
she
some
did.
of the let's just
Things
say,
that she was doing.
ungodly things that she was doing.
Yeah.
Satan closed his eyes. No,
No. He was in the room with
No, he wasn't. He said.
Because remember, folks, Jesse tried to tell you on our show a couple of years ago. OnlyFans has other things than pornographic stuff on their sites.
He was in the room and was like, I mean, you can't even come to hell. This is just nasty. You'd be dripping everywhere. So here's the thing.
Gotta keep that, carpet clean.
That carpet is soaked in the flood, baby. But she got herself banned, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you think Mandy's getting close to that too? Now?
And apparently, I've always said OnlyFans is technically supposed to be a way for creators to get.
It's like Patreon, but with a lot more porn.
Technically, it started with fitness and people in fashion.
Yes.
And then women realize they can show some feet and some titties, and dudes will just pay for it. If you're doing it, that's your money, bro.
Well, that's true, yeah.
Porn sites are free. Anyway,
there's one we talk about all the time.
I try not to because they don't sponsor us. So here's the thing.
I know.
I
would be okay with that.
Let's talk Mandy Rose. Mandy Rose was let go because all she was asked to do
was cut off the X-rated
You
stuff.
can't do the X-rated stuff. If you wanted to start your site, if you wanted to do some more risque stuff, even
lingerie, bikinis,
that's
fine.
okay.
You want to know why Chelsea Green's doing it now?
Mm-hmm.
Bailey's always posting shit on Instagram, clearly showing off that incredible figure. But here's the thing:
Natalia and her sister.
Yeah. But it's never.
WWE's not firing them anytime soon.
Because it's not X-rated. So guess what? It might be risque, but it's not X-rated. Rhea Ripley does it all the time, right?
Yep. There's some local wrestlers that come up here that are doing it also. Too.
Risque, but never. Well, some of them actually do the X-rated shit, and good for the ladies. Do you think? I'm not hating on it, but
that's the thing, Jesse. No one's hating on you.
No.
We're just wondering why all of a sudden in the last 3 months you are talking so much about the on-screen product when you were apparently making 10 times what you were making in WWE.
It's almost like you get tired of watching the same dick get pounded into some pussy. Now, for those who don't understand the porn industry, the reason they put out so much content is because otherwise they understand that people will get bored and they cannot find a way to fund it, right?
Exactly. That's why the Family Guy made that joke in the episode where Brian was like directing porn.
Yeah.
Was like, was like the joke was.
Check out the story, bro. And then he's reading it. He was like, not bad. Except the door is a chick and the chick's getting banged.
Yeah. Bang the drum slowly. Yeah.
Bang the drum slowly.
But the drum's a chick. Anyway, but no, Jesse. The joke when he got to the Adult Film Awards was legitimately you're up for like 4 of the 7 films you directed yesterday.
Yeah, he felt ashamed until he heard his name.
Yeah.
All of a sudden,
what I'm saying is that Jesse, in one day you can do 7 different films.
All of a sudden, all this money you and that overly Christian fucking Lacey Evans, right? All this overcharging, and now people don't. Now all these dudes don't want to pay for it anymore. Now pro wrestling sounds good again.
Well, I did see that Mandy brought in a former NXT star that is doing stuff with her also.
To be fair, Priscilla, by the way, I hope you get healthy. Unfortunately, was injured in one of her appearances since
with Zach Wentz.
I forget the name of the wrestling promotion. I'm wishing you the best in a quick recovery. That's really sad. And I don't mean like sad. Just like she just got her feet back wet into the independent game. Where, by the way, she was a legend already. Even though she's not 30 yet.
Still young. Oh yeah.
But here's the thing. Just like any kind of money, like I talk to kids about, or the younger generation about, the TikTok money will dry up quick if you have nothing else going on. That should be a way for you to promote other platforms. Like anytime I see anything funny on TikTok, it's usually a comedian or a group of comedians, and they're always promoting where they're going to do stand-up next after they do their skit. Because it's supposed to be a way to promote, right?
Oh yeah. That's what.
Otherwise, the money dries up. You hear a lot of kids nowadays talking about, I want to be a YouTuber, and I always point them to a great Markiplier video from like 11 years ago, and the video starts Markiplier going, "I've been doing this for over a decade. I was not able to quit my job until 6.5 years into doing this."
Well, remember,
it takes time.
Jacques the Whipper.
Yeah.
He started posting on TikTok and then YouTube and all that stuff. And it wasn't until TikTok, because he was on YouTube long before that, it wasn't until TikTok that he was able to quit his job
Right.
and full-time travel to Renaissance fairs
Right.
and do the videos.
Right.
So, like, people got to understand, this is a part-time gig for a lot of people. And for her, being Mandy, you were able to supplement your income with WWE, and everyone was like, oh, WWE doing their third-party shit, which, by the way, was killed 2 years prior to that fucking
Yes.
thing, so whatever. AJ Styles killed it.
Yes.
But the fact of the matter is that, yes, all of these wrestlers, they go and they do the Twitch and this and that. But
The EDM shit is big on Twitch.
But remember, Xavier Woods was the first one that no one points to, was he linked up, down, down with WWE long before the rest of them got the Twitch thing going. And then all of a sudden, he was supplementing his income, but he was okay with working with them, making it more PG, making it more child-friendly, because it wasn't really R-rated anyway.
Because they were playing video games,
Yeah.
so it was, it wasn't a big deal.
Yeah.
Very family friendly.
And also, by the way, one of the cool things he did with doing that was because they used their real names.
Yeah.
It allowed Vince to go, well, okay, as long as they're using their real names and nothing I can be sued over from the other wrestling companies,
Right.
then you can have whatever fringe you want on
Yeah,
it.
but that was the thing. But then it's like you all of a sudden had to do this full time because they got rid of you, all because you just wouldn't knock off the X-rated shit. You were still making a decent
Hey,
amount.
don't fuck your husband on it.
Yeah.
Fuck him in private, but don't fuck your husband on it.
Yeah, which is all they asked.
That's literally it.
Yeah, but the thing about it was that now, this is actually literally the example of, okay, the cracks are starting to show in your personal business because you keep talking about theirs. Why do you care if apparently you made all this money, and then you go on a fucking interview show, and it's like, okay, this is an interview show midday. It's for housewives that sit at home. Sorry, America, that's what you do. You create shows for housewives that live at home. And it's like, this woman is talking about the road and how hard it was, and meanwhile, she just does nothing but post everything that God gave her and nothing more on all these sites. And it's like, guys, let me be clear. Content creation is a busy fucking business.
Yes, it is.
Markiplier can take 6 months off of YouTube. His channel still gets like 10 billion views.
He can do it now.
He can do it now.
16 years in.
Yes. He can do it now.
Millions, almost billions of followers.
Timmy talks all the time. He's an unk now playing Call of Duty. But he's been streaming for like 12 years.
Basically, fucking PewDiePie, the guy who is the face of a site like YouTube for 10 years, semi-retired
Because he could.
because he could financially.
Yeah. But the fact is that, Jesse, when you look at Mark and you look at Tim and you look at...
But you're talking about, but once again, like I was saying, and why this connects to Mandy Rose.
Yeah.
That shit's a grind. You gotta
Yeah.
do that for years and years and years and years and years and years. Learn how to edit, learn how to do this, years and years and years and years. Why is it? Because Mandy, let me introduce you to someone who's been doing interview circuits about what they regret. Hello, Riley Reid. So I'm not sure if you are familiar. Riley Reid was a porn star, very famous for like 10 years because she just did all these kind of.
She did
stuff.
really, really hardcore stuff.
And now she's been doing
in porn,
interviews.
you get paid big bucks the crazier the shit you do.
The more disgusting shit you're willing to do.
Yeah, I do know that.
We'll just put business out there, folks. If a girl does nothing but lesbian porn, she ain't making that much money in the porn industry. She's really not.
But Riley did just about everything.
Yeah.
And now she's on interviews talking about how she was trying to get it all taken down. Riley, unfortunately, that is not how business works. You sign a contract. They own that old likeness. They can continue to put those old videos out as much as they want.
But Jesse, it's interesting because this relates to another wrestling topic. Was when Hornswoggle was on Chris Van Vliet, and he got mad at Peter Dinklage. Peter Dinklage sitting there talking about how Disney's going to use, shouldn't use real midgets. And by the way, folks, the word's okay because Hornswoggle didn't mind the word. But like he flat out said, Peter Dinklage wanted to make a statement with that. Okay. In theory, 21 little people did not make Disney money.
Correct. 21
little people did not make Disney money, and Disney paid some animator 20 fucking bucks to go fucking put 7 dwarves in a shitty movie.
Right.
But like, no, that's the thing. He said in there, Peter, when you did Elf, you cashed that check.
Yeah.
Riley, you cashed that check.
Yeah.
Like, let me be clear. If you are not smart enough to realize that if you're going to do online content, because by the way, the stupidest thing in the world is when people go, why didn't you think it'd be on there forever? They tell you day one the internet has everything forever.
It's easy when you're young to be swooned into contracts because you see big money.
That's why I've always respected Pearl Jam. They got huge off that first record and immediately got their deal torn up, and they got a new, and they're well, I guess
basically been independent kind of ever since.
Yeah.
And it's basically they own all their shit, which is smart.
Yeah.
But it's one of Mandy, baby girl. Do you, as you're doing these interviews, do you fucking get it now? You thought Shawn Michaels seems to go Instagram hunting for the next NIL signing all the time because maybe there's still a little bit of HBK in old Shawn boy there.
It never went away.
All you had to do is not do X-rated shit. That was it. And now all of a sudden the money's drying up.
And what bothers me is, look, I don't mind people that work in adult films.
Don't care.
That's not what I'm saying. But here's the deal. And also, if you want to get elegantly dressed up and go out for a night in the town, you have that right. But here's the thing, Jesse. Don't get elegantly dressed up. Go on and do interviews about their current product and how you were treated and this and that. Don't do it now, because most people, when they make, to quote you, honey, 10 times in a month what you were making over there, they tend to move on with their lives and not give a shit.
Correct.
But now all of a sudden that you got to be up, like seriously, it's like every week now there's a comment from her, and I'm just like, what are you, Nikki Bella? But didn't show your damn tits?
By the way, Nikki Bella never did anything adult oriented.
Right. But the thing is like, hey, when everything dries up and you do stupid shit in your personal life, now you're coming back to the fucking apple that fucking originally gave you the fucking garden.
You know, here's the thing. Unlike Velveteen Dream, who now I'm kind of over. If they're willing to give you that shot, but understand you're probably going to start with a lesser contract again, because you shouldn't have opened your fucking mouth to begin with.
Yeah.
That's true, yeah.
And that's kind of my whole thing, folks, is at the end, it's like, no one is saying that Mandy Rose needed to stop what she was doing if she was happy with the money she was making.
Right.
But remember, it literally goes to the very first topic of the show. Will Ospreay, the cracks are showing because we can see what's happening.
Correct.
You're all of a sudden, Mandy, talking about all this shit, which you didn't talk about for over a year because the money was good.
Right.
And now all of a sudden, we don't know your finances because we don't care, but all of a sudden, you make all these comments and we're like, somebody might be lobbying to get back in a certain position
because they're not making as much money.
Because, folks, let me be very clear. OnlyFans dries up real quick when, like Jesse said, people are only willing to pay for it for so fucking long.
Before we go ahead and sign off, and this relates to Mandy and Will Ospreay a little bit. One of the funny, it's not even funny, it's actually it's sad, but it was still kind of a funny video. And he wasn't trying to make fun of the girl, or the couple wasn't, who do the documentaries. They follow former OnlyFans models, and they went and talked to one who's working out of Walmart now. And she was just like, wait a minute, how did you go from making $200,000 a month to needing this job? And the girl was just like, I could only perform with certain men. I started to hate myself, so I stopped doing it. But also, the money that I saved starts to dry up because she was overspending, because it was easy to overspend. When
I say all the time,
a month.
I said last week, and I say it all the time on the show. You give me Trevor Lawrence money, you won't see my ass working another day in my life. And everyone's like, well, what do you mean? I'm like, the way I live now, I'll do the same damn thing, just make sure my bills are fucking paid.
That's right.
I don't give a shit. But I'm not all of a sudden going to take the money and say, Jesse, we're moving to fucking Miami. Everything's more expensive in Miami.
Right.
I'll still go to McDonald's 3 times a week.
I'm kind of thrifty, or some people say cheap.
Exactly.
It's just.
But see, that's who you are. That's who you are as a person.
Yeah.
Everyone who sees pro athletes go broke, it's like, well, that's who they are. They probably weren't good with money when they didn't have any.
Correct.
But the thrifty ones, like I forget, there was I think it was Golden Tate or a different wide receiver for Detroit. He was making like $10 million, but he and his wife lived on $88,000 a year. And I'm like, yeah, that's still a lot for the average person that may listen to this show. But $88,000 when you got $10 million coming in.
No, that's fuck.
I'd be sitting pretty.
That was former Giant receiver. I know who you're talking about. And they got him and his wife got a small house because he's like, I only really need to live off of like $150,000.
Well, didn't Justin Jefferson's first million with the Vikings because the Vikings put out a video? He only bought like a $125,000 house in the cities, which it isn't bad for what he was making.
People didn't even realize like Tom Brady's home with even before him and Giselle got married.
Yeah.
After he paid his parents off, he got a small house for like $650,000. He didn't need that fucking money for himself.
And by the way, folks, like again, let me repeat. Look, $650,000
for us is a lot.
Well, yeah, no.
But like when you're making that kind of money in NFL and his branding deals,
yeah,
probably upwards of $50 million,
and still spending 1/4 of it. Like everyone thinks Gronk's
less than a 16th of it.
Yeah, everyone thinks Gronk's an idiot. No, Gronk never spent a dime of the NFL money.
Actor Christian Bale apparently gets made fun of because he drives an old Jeep.
Yeah.
But he's like, I bought this Jeep when I was still coming up in the business in the early 2000s, and it's never fucking gone out on me.
Right.
He's like, I get why people make the joke.
Yeah.
But he's like, I don't live in a $2 billion home. I live in a very nice 6-bedroom home for my family.
Jerry Jones bought a $200 million yacht. Because Jerry Jones, if he was poor or if he was rich, will spend money above.
Remember, he was super broke because he kept overspending to try to get rich in oil until he finally did.
Exactly. So, like, Mandy, we all look at you as, if that's where you're going, you clearly have overspent because we all watched your non-paywall content and you had the cars and the nice suits for your husband and the big fucking house.
Because there was no way I was paying for that shit.
And you were in
yeah, no kidding.
You were still living. Well, no, again, Allison bought 1 month.
No, I know.
For research.
For research. That shit was so expensive, though.
Yeah.
I was slightly jealous at the time.
But anyway, no, Jesse.
Well, I appreciated her doing that because I was just like, see, this is the shit where I'm just like, for the people who pay for this, because at some point they're going to stop paying for it. This is an absorbent amount of money because you feel that's your worth. But eventually the market tells you what your worth is. Walk into capitalism. And now all of a sudden, you need your job back in WWE. Well, the money you could have made, because by the way, she used to be one of the highest paid women ever in NXT because she was still getting her main roster money.
Yep.
You're going to probably start midway now because you fucked that up.
Well, once again, folks, please subscribe to us on Facebook, YouTube, Patreon for only $1, and Spotify. We will now be ending the recorded portion of our show. For Spotify, please join us after each and every show on YouTube, where we will try to get to as many questions as we can in about 20 minutes or so. But yeah, thank you all very much, and we will talk to you guys all next week.
Bye-bye. It looks like we are now off of our audio recording. We're now going to go in.
All right, Leroy.
Let's go get some questions.
Leroy, I see a lot of comments in that chat. So what do you got for us? Hopefully some of these people are still here. Now, by the way, folks, this portion of the show, we won't say this every week, but we'll say it the first couple. This portion of the show will still be on YouTube.
Correct.
Available for free.
Correct.
So basically, you can come back and watch your questions, but hopefully some of you are still with us. Go ahead, Leroy. What do you got for us?
The first question up for the Sisterhood of the Squared Circle.
Okay.
So you go, since AAA stuff, would you like to see more masked face painted female wrestlers on TV?
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
On
I think
any promotion, too.
And to be fair, she's absolutely right because they are not used enough. I forget the nickname AAA gave their Lucha Women, but I agree with you. it was great to see them in that match with Stephanie Bakir and Lola Vice. Yes. But that's why I do believe, Queen, that the deal with WWE and AAA and TKO could possibly only be positive, because with them still allowing AAA to do their shows, which, by the way, Triple Mania coming up, it's going to allow them to promote them more. I believe we're going to see more of those women at Evolution than we actually WWE Evolution than they're leading on.
Well, but remember, Evolution right now is still kind of treated like a spectacle more so than an actual build.
But now they're starting to talk about it like they're going to build story, and it looks like Liv Morgan might be doing something with
Not a huge fan of Nikki being like, I think I want to give the fans that Rhea match. No one's asking for that, Nikki, but you know what? Hey, we're
to watch you get your ass beat.
It's the only thing it's the only word to ask.
But no, I absolutely agree, and I do believe we will see more of it. As far as other promotions, I happen to watch Women of Wrestling. Wow. I don't know if they could afford to do it, but they do their own version of it with the up-and-coming wrestlers that they get.
Yeah.
And then, would I love to see it more like TNA, AEW? Absolutely. You do see it in New Japan and Stardom.
Yeah.
So if you're ever looking for more to watch, I always tell people it's only $5 a month.
Yeah. Masked Luchadores is a topic that has always been very interesting, but I think the one thing about wrestling is it has followed the ebbs and flows of WWE, which is why it doesn't need to go out of business. In that WWE started to make the women more important, so did the rest of the business.
Correct. So no, we absolutely agree, and I hope to see it way more. So I agree with you.
All right, and then we got one from the Wrestling Collection Connection. Staying with the AAA theme there with Sister there, their interests are you interested in seeing more of AAA in WWE featured matches?
Yes,
and I think that, but I also agree that it can't be Tony Khan-ified, and what I mean by that is you can't just do it A, cold every week,
correct,
and B, you can't do it all the time.
Correct.
It needs to be special. It needs to be unique because, again, WWE is the only wrestling company in America at that level, even though there really is only two.
Right.
There's two companies, and one of them doesn't understand this. They're booking for a mainly American audience, and Lucha is not mainly for American, because if it was, Lucha Underground would have had plenty of money to keep going.
It would have had more viewers for sure, but
that's why they're around.
I do agree. They are going to try to do this as smartly as possible, which is why they're sending Jeremy Borash to work with Conan.
Yeah. Jeremy will keep everyone updated on what's happening.
Correct.
And WWE will
anytime they want to do shows between the two promotions.
But let me be clear, Jeremy Borash is not taking notes from Triple H and saying, "Here's the Triple Mega Champion." That's not happening.
It's a combination.
Now, I will argue this though: if WWE has an upper mid Carter who's not doing anything, and they come to an agreement that he'll put over the next big Lucha guy, then maybe Chad Gable at some point being the AAA Mega Champion would benefit them because they'll come up with a luchador that he can kind of fuck with, and then that'll boost him up in their culture.
And I have a very good feeling, based on some things I've heard, we're going to see Mr. Iguana a lot more on WWE television.
Well, he was the hit of the night.
Yes, he was. So.
He was, definitely. I do want to see Mr. Iguana.
Any others?
All right, one more from our friend, that third-class beard. And he said...
Crander Q, what's up, buddy?
He says, and Leroy, don't make this creepy. Thank you, Crander Q.
Well, thank you for putting the caveat in there, Crander, because now I'm going to have to...
He said his question of if you could share a pizza with 30 minutes to hang out, with who?
And this is where he responded, no, not Jordan Gracie.
Yeah, no, not Jordan Gracie. Yes,
Perfect.
And I made a comment right back to him for that.
So, I have always said because I am a fucking wrestling geek. I would love to pick the brain of a Triple H, to pick the brain. You see, 10 years ago, I probably would have said Chris Jericho. Now I have no interest in talking to him.
Yeah.
I would love to pick the brain of Kenny Omega. I would love to pick the brain of Rey Mysterio, and I would love to pick the brain of Gunther, who does understand pro wrestling on a very vast level.
Yeah.
I would love to sit with fucking Naito. So I mean, my list is probably pretty long.
I'll be honest, my top is Rhea Ripley, but here's why I'm saying that. We just talked bands for like a good.
Otherwise, so if I want to
She's
do
such
that
a metal
wrestling,
head, dude.
and I would just speak wrestling, but metal as a wrestling person. Rhea, buddy, come get your free pizza. Let's talk metal.
Damn straight. But honestly,
and Seth, you know what?
Yeah.
I've always said Kobe comes off as a really cool
Oh
guy.
yeah, and he's a big metalhead.
Yeah.
But honestly, people might find this answer to be very strange, but I actually just would start throwing out a lot of AEW names. But again, that's also me proving to everyone I've never hated the talent.
Well, no. Because
I think Kenny Omega would be fascinating.
Watching some of his like live streams, I'm like, whenever this guy retires, if he just does a show talking about pro wrestling like Jim Cornette does, listening to him for 4 hours will be fucking fascinating.
Because I think Kenny understands something that Jim pretty much refuses to understand,
Sure.
and that's fine at his
age, yeah.
It's Kenny Omega knows how a modern style works.
Right.
Now, whether or not you like modern wrestling or not is irrelevant.
But he also understands the evolution from the past.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, he's like I told people, watching some of his live streams sometimes, I'm like,
I will say this though.
Fascinating.
I will say this. If you want me to throw a name out there, legit, bro, Roman Reigns would be a hell of a conversation.
Roman Reigns seems like, if you want to talk like life and like what you want to do and like how you grow from troubles and shit, he seems like him and Jacob Fatu seem like two of the perfect dudes. They'd be like, let's have a beer. Let me tell you some real shit real quick.
Yeah.
Like.
Well, for me, it's say Jordan Grace. Yeah, I'd love to hang out with her and her hubby. You know, it'd be
who
fun.
We did get to meet.
We did get to meet. It would be fun. But I'd say like Paul Heyman and Cody Rhodes.
You know, folks, I want to be honest about Jordan too, and this is like just me being.
I'm not gonna lie. I think I would give up my big toe on my left foot. This is very specific, but for us to be able to invite to your home, I think your home would probably be perfect. Zach, once it was done.
Yeah.
Mickey James, that family, Nick Aldis again.
Oh yeah.
And like, we're gonna feed you guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Let's just talk about shit.
My God, yes.
I will say this though.
Because that man was insightful.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
I will say this to finish up that point though. For those of you who don't realize, seeing her in real life, and I mean this in the most complimentary way, Jordan Grace is a big person. She is.
Listen, the nickname she picked for herself is perfect.
And she still comes out with that siren too.
Well, honestly, I think for a first run of this, that was probably cool. Hopefully, we'll get a few more questions there at the end, but we appreciate everyone with the questions there for now.
Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for joining us, and we will see you guys in this portion of the show once again next week. So thank you all very much.